Grand evenings, gods and goddesses. Ever since the last two lectures, we've been having issues with the live connections, but that's okay because the live streaming service is coming soon. So stay tuned for that. That we don't have to worry about outside things getting in the way of our growing. If you have not already seen that I've started another stream key, just click on the new one, the one that's apparently clearly going live now. But Skinfolk, it was funny because the last thing that I saw before I went live, I was on my Facebook, and it had Kenneth Copeland on there, and it was a very interesting on what he said. It was very interesting what he said in that aspect of him. So as you come in, drop that out shade, just get that fire, get that energy in, so I know who's all in, who's in. But he has said, no matter what you do, don't forget, don't stop tithing. Don't stop tithing. Don't stop doing your tithes. I don't care if you got to email it in, send it in. It goes into the aspect of understanding. And like when I looked at him, I was like, damn, he looked like the leprechaun. And we're looking at Skinfolk, Jinfolk. Title of that. Because as you're coming into your higher self, one of the main aspects that we have to look into and look at that's important is things are not what they seem. Once you understand that there's a veil, there's actually three levels of there's three levels to the dimensional effect. There's three levels to the dimensional effect, these dimensions. There's the 3D dimension, which is everything that's around you now. There's the 4D dimension, which is into that mental aspect. And then there's the 5D dimension, that's the dimension of where the astral begins and the astral plane starts. But it was interesting when he said it, because he had said, this exact words were, I'm actually going to play it because I have it saved. Because I actually have it saved. Listen to that real quick. It was mad interesting what he had said and how he said it. And then you listening, and then there was another glitch in the matrix. You can tell that the veil has been, there's certain moments in time where you can tell that the veil is thinned out. It's a reset. That's what that's this whole coronavirus calamity is. It's that reset. It's the crowning of something coming through. There was a movie, there was a show, I think it was on The Strain. That's the name of the show, The Strain. I don't remember what season it was, but he had said, a man that said, he was like, what's going to happen is going to be a bigger, stronger virus, stronger than you, that's going to have to come and change out things. And I feel sorry for your soul when that happens. And that's what's happening. Think about everything into the aspect. Here's the video. We're going to play the video real quick so I can hear what he said.
Fear of this coronavirus is faith in its ability to hurt you or kill you. The fear of what are we going to do? I'm getting laid off at work. Hey, your job's not your source. If it is, you're in trouble. Jesus is your source. Whatever you do right now, don't you stop tithing. Don't you stop sowing offerings. Well, they won't let us go to church. Well, email it in there, text and give or something, but you get your tithe in that church. If you have to go take it down there and drop it off and stick it under the door or something, you get that tithe in that church, you get that offering in that church, and then you go home and you do what we're supposed to do. faith in its ability to hurt your kid.
Hearing things like that, in that aspect, you're thinking like, wait, what? He really just said to me, he really just said, and it's crazy because there's going to be the dead, they're going to follow that message because that's all they believe in. Follow that, they're going to follow that message. They're going to follow that message in hopes that that's going to bring and sustain their reality. There was also something interesting. Donald Trump was on the news. I saw another clip, and he was like, there's dead people out here dying for the first time. And after you get past the laughing at it, like, damn, this nigga that said there's dead people out here dying for the first time. When you look at the aspect of coming into your consciousness, you have to die. You got to die first. You have to die while you are living. I like the way it glows on the camera. Y'all can't see the glow as I see it. But that aspect, ooh, it's popping. Ooh, it's getting that energy, yo. They want to have Kenneth Copeland on our shit. But you take that aspect into that thought process, into that frame, you now understand, you're getting gained in an understanding of what's happening at this level. This level is losing its ability. One of the things that we were told was, you remember you look back and they were like, why are the gods dying? There's the people aren't worshiping them anymore. I was doing a lot of research over these times. Another big thing that this is showing you is what you're going in as, you need to evolve past that. What you're going in as, you need to go, this is your time. You're stepping past that. You're stepping through that. The things that you're used to seeing and you're used to being around you that were in your reality, these things are no longer holding a position. As you're coming into yourself, the things that you once clung on to in those moments in time are no longer holding. And that goes into the 3D effect. The 3D hold, this three-dimensional thought process of where you just woke up, you went to work, you woke up, you were going to class, you were going to school, you woke up, you were going to get your nails done, you woke up, go get your hair cut, do your everyday thing based in this wonderful land of sleep, this illusion of sleep, no longer is holding. Things are being suspended during the reset. But the reason that things are being suspended during the reset is not because of there is an epidemic, but it's an epidemic on the intellectual understanding in the reset. The things that are happening at this point in time that's the reset. The reset button's been hit. I said it last week and I said it in the podcast earlier this week. If you're being told to go home for so long, we've been told to go home for so long. And the ones that awake and understand what that means, the concept of going home or leaving this space and reversing, you're doing exactly what you're supposed to do. Everything's happening exactly as it's supposed to happen. What happens if, that's like when you looked at a lot of the civilizations, someone always asks this question, and I answered it earlier. I actually answered it, spirit coming through. I actually answered it earlier this week. Somebody had asked, they were like, so how did we have all these great advancements and all of a sudden we just got taken over? We didn't need it. A lot of these places that were taken over, there was nobody there. Villages, kingdoms, whole civilizations disappeared. That's gone. We were going to sleep. We've left that space. So it's easy for somebody to come in that has an intellectual understanding of the basis of that level has a basic understanding of the points to that level, that basic understanding of the points of that level, intellectually understanding that space, it's easy for them to come in and take over. They haven't taken over anything. They haven't done anything that we have not already put into prophet that's already been prophesied and been written down. Studied the Hermetica, you study the Gnostic text, you study all of these ancient texts. That's our information, our knowledge. That's the foundation to understanding why everything is happening the way it happens. You have to go back into, everybody's talking about, I want to create a better future. Think about this. You want to create a better future for your kids. You want to create a better future for your kids. But if you don't understand the properties of the space that you're willing to create in, you have to allow yourself to be, put into a position. You have to allow yourself to be put into a position where you're serving something. The one interesting thing when I looked at the video, and there's like a lot of weird shit that pops up when you're looking at shit. I looked at the video, and you can tell it's a mask. You looked at his face, and it damn looks like a mask. And I remember when they came out with the people were talking about the motherfuckers going. I think it was in Philly, when motherfuckers were in Philly and people were putting on had that black mask that looked real, and they were acting like they were black people robbing people and trying to stir up the crime rate. That's literal physical seeing a spirit or a counterfeit spirit inhabit the flesh. They don't have souls. So they can be manipulated. Anything that does not have a soul can be manipulated. It needs something to activate or to manipulate it. So when we go into the history, as we dive into the history of jinns, and there's different levels of jinns, and it was also interesting when I looked at the different levels of jinns and the jinn of water. There's water type jinns. There's fire type jinns, earth type jinns, air type jinns, all based in the elements. The synonymous linking to this space being created. If you worship me in that aspect, when you take that aspect of worship and you look at worship and you do your prayers, which are basically you're trying to make wishes, and then you're switching from one religion to another, basically. You just took African spirituality and made it religion. So you look at the Orishas, the Ifa, you look at all these different concepts. You're in service to something. The name changes, but the game stays the same. The names may change, just like when you look at any show on television, and it says based on true events, and the names may be changed to protect the innocent. The names have been changed to protect the innocents. In this case, everything's turned around. The names have been changed to shift to protect the dark or protect that source of power. So when we're going to the aspect, when you understand building this matrix, we're going to start with building this matrix. When you're rebuilding, until you understand, and that's always the most important thing, until you understand the spell in the body of work of what it is, you can't do anything to it except you'll be attached to it emotionally in some way. So in this, Skinfolk, the ones that were around you that served a certain purpose, you built that conduit. Remember last week we went into the aspect of when you came here, you made the decision of everything in every conduit in every space. I remember there was something that was always told to me and I always read upon. When you play with the demons, they don't know when to stop playing. When you're playing with something you don't understand, or you don't have an understanding of it, it doesn't want to stop playing because its only purpose is to feed. The only reason its only purpose is to feed. At this level, remember, everything's feeding off something or feeding you something to feed to something else. Addictions, all that in this realm, survival. So when you created these conduits in your life, you needed to be breastfed, mother. You needed someone to go out and work from sun up to sundown, your father figure, mother figures. You needed someone to take care of you and to show you the way. You needed further education. You created college. We already did these things. Everything that's been done on the foundation. When you start at the point of slavery, if you started at the point of slavery, you started at the point of servitude. When you started the point of slavery, you started the point of servitude. Before slavery, which was about 1,400 years, give or take, it's 8,000 years before that of us, just us coming into existence, us going to sleep. That timeline was us going to sleep. Because when you start understanding the psychic abilities, our psychic abilities, our clairvoyances, telepathy, being able to teleport, all these different aspects of ourselves that when you tap into your higher self, you just get bits and pieces of it because it can't exist on this level. While we were going that 8,000 years prior to that slavery point, being prisoners of war, we were going to sleep. So we created the monuments, we created we put together the civilizations, we put together physical manifestations of our great works and our achievements. So when we came back online at whatever point in time, whatever point in our alignment or our awakening, we had stuff to look back at. Because our subconscious understands images. That's like if I sat here right now and I said, I did a whole infomercial on how to make $1 million. Until I have $1 million, I have to have $1 million somewhere around me, or money somewhere around me, for you to be able to say, he know what he's talking about. He got some money sitting next to him. It might not be $1 million. I haven't seen him what $1 million looks like in that aspect. I'm talking as a viewer. But he knows what he's talking about. He has a stack of money. He has things that equate to $1 million. He went and rented a Bugatti. He went and rented a fucking Bentley truck. He went and rented a big ass house, and he's sitting in front of this house having this whole conversation with me, trying to get me to buy into whatever he's trying to say. Images. So we had to create images. So we created images. When you create these images, you got to create conduits within those images. Understand it. Looking at different mythos, and we created the mythos as philosophy to tell the stories. A great book to look into that I actually just recently started reading into is Alchemy. Got it over here. This book right here, Alchemy and Psychoanalysis. The beginning of this book, it starts with a parable. And then throughout the book, it breaks down using the psychological method or the psychoanalysis method to break down dreams and interpretations, to break it down into mind work. This is the type of shit, because it's written by Herbert Silber. It was written in 1914, written by a white guy, that we got to get out of the habit. That's another thing I'm always going to say. You got to get out of the habit of saying a white person did it, so I'm not going to look into it. I'm not going to read into it because a white person did it. Never allow your emotion to stop you from getting to your knowledge. Never let your knowledge stop you from getting to your. Never allow your emotions to get to you to stop you from going to your knowledge. Because once you allow that to happen, that can continuously happen. That's continuously happened throughout the history. There's motherfuckers right now that will not look at a picture of Baphomet or look at anything dealing with Baphomet or under that image of Baphomet for deeper understanding of themselves, because they'll say this white French guy wrote it. I don't care who the fuck wrote it. They only have the capacity for intellectual understanding. So they only can write shit to an intellectual understanding. So they can read it, they can regurgitate it, they can say that shit over and over and over and over again, but they never can tap into it because they don't have the key. They don't have that philosopher's stone. They don't have that ability, that divine right to actually upload it. They don't have the ability to upload that information, to turn on their spiritual capacity. They don't have that ability. They have very little of it. That's why they can be used by spirit. That's why they're used by spirits. That's why you look at Crowley's works, like the Book of Law and books into that nature, and you understand, like, you can see the spirit tapped into them because they understand they're the custodians. They understand that their arrogance will not allow them to keep their mouths shut. Their arrogance will not allow them to keep their mouths shut. They're just going to speak. They're going to say whatever the fuck. They don't think you're stupid. They're going to think you're a dumbass. They don't think you just a nigger. They don't think you just dead. And then when you look at this 3D world of glamour, and I broke down glamour a little bit in the podcast, so we're going to break down glamour tonight. That glamour, that glitz, that glamour, that fame that you're looking at, that's what you'll be stuck on. So I can just paint a picture and be like, okay, here's the picture that I want you to look at. Don't look at any other picture but this picture. Don't look at any other thing but this. Only kiss to white Jesus. And then you have motherfuckers that are losing their grip on their feeding in their lower level. Jinns are the lower level entities. They're lower than the angels. They don't have the ability to create their own light. So when we're looking at this hierarchy, remember I said before, there has to be something that has the same power or is fathered or mothered by the same source of power that you are. The mythos of the Titans versus the gods unlocks most of that. When you're looking at the energies of the great mothers and you're looking at the Titans and Gaias and all these great entities, and those are aspects of you. All of it is energy. You'll get to a crossroads and you wonder, why am I always at? You'll always wonder why you're doing certain things in your life and why you do certain things, why you embark on certain things, why certain things that you just seem to know. What are you encompassing as you're learning what you just seem to know? There's another book, it's an encyclopedia of deities. There's another book called, there's a couple of different books on symbols. There's a couple of different books on symbols. There's a couple of different books on the encyclopedia of deities. I'm looking for that book now. I might look it up on Scribe while we're going through this. But the aspect in understanding yourself, that's one of those keys. For your entire indoctrine, while you were coming to your identity of yourself, you created a conduit to grant all of your wishes. The first one, the same person that gave you, the same one that indoctrinated you, gave you your name, gave you your religion, gave you your rights and wrongs, your ABCs, your 1, 2, 3s, and all that shit, is the same person that now is, they're no longer connected to you in that aspect. As you rise higher, you allow pockets for things to fall into. Certain things can't leave this realm at all. When you think about white people, like they can't leave this space. They're not going to leave here. They don't have the conduit. They don't have this divine spark. They don't have the soul to leave this space. So you wonder why you'll take deeper understanding why they fight tooth and nail to keep this space like this. And then you start understanding when certain people start coming around, certain things start saying things to you, it's to get a rise out of you. It's always been to get a rise out of you. They need your energy. They need your energy. They can't create new light. So they need you sustained in stasis, wishing and hoping. Black Lives Matter. I had a dream. They need you wishing and hoping to what they serve and are connected to in order to make new light, to sustain the light where they're at. All they can do is lights. All they can do is shadows. They can make up shadows. In that 4D reality, when you start getting into your concept of that 4D, that 4-dimensional, that's when you start looking at things. I actually got it written down. Next week, we're going to do something different. I always wait till the last minute to try some new shit. And I was going to stream the whole damn thing. But I found the streaming site that I'm going to start working on to create our own streaming site. But anyways, what I was saying. There's the 3 different levels to the 3D. On that 4D reality, that's when you have the conspiracy theorists. That's when you have the conspiracy theorists. This happened like this. This is why this happened. This is why this happened. It's another level of fear mongering. Because on the 3D level, you had the Afrocentric movement. You had the Afrocentric movement. You had Black Panthers. You had the civil rights movement. You had the freedom fighters. You had all of these elements on this 3D level that was right there in your face based on your level of standing because you were just coming to awaken. Give you something to survive off of. Here's something to survive off of. You need to vote. You need to learn how to vote. Think about how the dumb shit. If you think about how, here's something to really think about: the intellectual capacity and the intelligence of what people are calling their oppressor. They put together laws for voting. Got some of the freedom fighters coming through right now. They put together laws for voting, and one of those laws were how many bubbles are on this bar of soap when it's wet. They had to guess the amount of bubbles that were on a bar of soap. They had to guess how many pennies were in a jar. Let's think about the insult to intelligence. But it wasn't an insult to you. It's always going to be an insult to your intelligence if you take it to this understanding. But really think about, you mean you're going to tell me to count how many bubbles on the damn soap? But they were in a certain wavelength. They were trying to survive. At that level, you're trying to survive. So you'll do anything to survive. Right now, this shit that's going in and happening right now is motherfuckers are trying to survive. But yeah, I got the what's called right here. You always open it up. Next week we will be sharing. We're gonna be doing a lot of classwork. I got the Skype joint open. I'm gonna put up the group me link towards when we get to the question and answer period, the group me link for everybody that joins in every week. It shouldn't just stop. Like you get Friday, you get the deal, and Tuesday you can do that shit all year round. But the 3D lens on the coronaviruses, the 3D lens, this is done by the water priestess. This shouts out to her. 3D lens, there is a mass virus spreading in the masses. Must do everything we can to prevent ourselves and to protect ourselves from contracting a virus, which puts consciousness into a state of prevention, survival. We start to ask ourselves, how can we prevent this? Many of us have been in preventative medicine, and we are finally going to be licensed too. Now we can prevent more. Now we can prevent even more with tons of antibacterial hand sanitizer and all that shit because it kills 99% of germs. That's the 3D lens. The 5D lens. The virus is fake and it's a distraction. There's a cover up. There's a happening. That's when you get into that aspect of, oh my God, this is happening. That's happening. This, that, and the above. The 5D lens, we are going through a water rebirth. A flood of love is coming and whatnot. Into that aspect. What lens are you looking at your life through at this moment in time? That's the concept of understanding. Because the coronavirus is no different than Black Lives Matter. I had a dream. 9/11, never forget. The only way that they can create on this level fast enough, that's why you always see the distractions that happen. They happen in multitudes. They always happen like multitudes. They'll hit you with this over here. Kobe just died last week. This happened this week. This happened this week. It's based on fear. Remember, fear, the wavelength of fear moves fast. So as fast as it comes, is as fast as it goes. So it has to have staying power within it. So you have to put as much as you can put into that wavelength of fear as possible for it to last. So it can have a lasting effect based on the images, repetitive nature, and the trauma. Keeping you locked into that space. I got to keep you locked into this space. I got to keep you wishing. I got to keep you hoping. I got to keep you dreaming. I got to keep you praying. I got to keep you in a constant state of trauma. So my forces can actually do something. When you get into the 4D, that distraction, you went from the front line of we got to fight this war and we got to do this against our oppressor. Now in the 4D sense, if you're still in that mindset, in that 3D mindset, when you come to that 4D lens, you're going to see everything through the 3D mindset. So you're going to go from the oppressor is this and there's this invisible force to now this is the distraction keeping us from getting to this and keeping us from getting to this. You're still speaking the same fear. You're still going to hear the same fear-based genre. It's just under a different name. The critical thinking is good. That's why I say study all and follow none. Because if you're following something, you're literally going to go from this one space and you're going to look for those same archetypes in that next space to connect to. So when you have people that have coming out of consciousness, and then you were looking at niggas were going to prison, they were going in Christian or going in with no faith, coming out Muslim, coming out Islam, Nation of Islam. That's the aspect. They just switched to a different one. They found something that spoke to the radical inside of them to keep it at bay. I wish I could find myself in something else instead of looking within. So you get locked in not looking within yourself. So now you're in this space. Now you're the conspiracy theorist. Now you're sitting there. The oppressor is this because of this right here. And this is no knock to the information that they're putting out because some motherfuckers don't know the information. But you get to a certain point in time where it's comedy. You look at it and you're like, oh, okay. You can look at it, take the information you need out of it, and you go on. You move forward. It's when you get stuck in that space, now you must serve what's in that space. What conduits were in that space now that's been awakened? Everything at this level don't give a shit about you. Everything at this level don't give a shit about you. It don't care about you. It don't give a shit about you. It's based off of ego, humanity, morality, tradition. Ego, morality, humanity, tradition. The traumas of these things. I don't want to lose something else. I don't want to lose this time. I don't want to lose that. I don't want to lose something else. At this level, they're thinking about losses, wins and losses. When you get to that mental level, that 4D scape, you ain't think about wins and losses. You start thinking about learning and research. So the critical thinkers, because we're going to take away that term of conspiracy theorists, those critical thinkers, they play a role. But everything's about coming into balance. You may come in through one way on that path, but you might leave in a totally different way, a totally different scape of mind. But that's because you found your balance and you move forward. Changing the entire program and how it was put together. Damn, this just came straight up. Wait, whoa, go down. No. If you go, and what makes it so crazy, the information that, this is the craziest part about information and knowledge. It's at your fingertips. In this age of knowing, the knowledge is everywhere, literally. Information is everywhere. You can pull that from anywhere. It's your confidence that goes into question. The knowledge is everywhere, but it is your confidence. It's your confidence in yourself, in your understanding and growth that will allow you to embark on the information. You get to a point, like there's a point in time where you just want to go, I want to spill this and I want to tell people this and I want to tell people about this. I want to tell people about this in that aspect. And then you forget that you were at that point at one point in time. If not in the same parallel of that point, you were in that point in some type of congruent, indirectly going to find hard to believe because you're the separation, you're that balance, you're the mark in between the two spaces. You have to submit your mind to the bizarre. You have to submit. Bobby Hemming said that shit all the time. You have to submit your mind to get out of the mindscape of good and bad, good and evil, and look at negative and positive. You got to take your mindset out of good and bad and get into negative and positive. You have to look at what serves you and what doesn't serve you. Once you get into that aspect and you start programming your mind like that after like a 30-day period of mantras, it's programming yourself, submerging yourself in anything, whether it's true or not. At that first level, it doesn't matter. At that, you have to submerge yourself within that knowledge, within it. You have to submerge yourself within it, because after you submerge yourself within it, after about that 30-day mark, remember it takes 21 days to break a habit. It takes 90 days to create a behavior. So after that 21 days, that extra 9 days is reinforcing for you to start building your behavior. That's why whenever they say, once you in this, you can't get out. Once you in this, you can't get out. Once you're getting into knowing and researching and understanding yourself, there's no turning back. You'll go fucking crazy. There's no halfway point. So when you look at the older horror movies, some of the movies there, when they talk about demons and energy and possessed by the demons, they stepped into a space, the door closed behind them. There's a scene on a show on Netflix, I think it was like after the, and she goes into his mind and she can't get back out. There's certain spaces that you cannot get out. Once you're in this space, you can't get back out of it. You can't, there's no going back to what you knew, because you know it's bullshit. Unless you submit to your ego or the jinn that you created. I wish I could go back. I wish I could go back to this time. I wish I can go back to there. I wish I can do this. You putting in your mindset that you wish you can go back to something, you set the escape for the thought process, I'm going to fake it until I make it. So then you create your whole entire environment based on what you thought about that time. I wish they brought back the 90s. There's old niggas out right here, right now, walk around like they still in the 90s. The 90s are over. They stuck in a sphere of time that ain't coming back. Things may come back from that period, because that lets you understand that in order to stand in your present, to create, you must understand the past and the conduits of your past. They give you aspects, and one of the aspects that they do here based in glamour is they brought the 90s back. Earlier on in the 2000s, they brought back the Reebok pump sneakers. One of the biggest things that they do and they instill is Jordans for niggas. They instill Jordans for niggas all the fucking time. They didn't repeat it, the same fucking retros, and just took off certain aspects of it to be like, oh, that's the retro, this right here, or this the 1982. And then you start thinking about these years, you were like, Jordan when he wearing Jordan back in 1982. That puts you into the aspect. You ever looked at a sign on like a package of something like meat or food or something? It'll say since like 1906, 1812. I was at the store last week and I was looking at something that said established in 1812. And then you go look up the history, there's nothing about that shit in 1812. But then I went back a couple weeks later, and there was some shit in there about 1812. They need your attention to create what they need. They need your attention, your power to create the light, to sustain the light. They need your wishful thinking and your hope to maintain the light. Definition of a jinn. We're going to start with jinn and we're going to go down through the footnotes that I marked. Jinn or genie, plural, G-I-N-N-I, that's the plural form. Jinn, also genie or jinai, is an Arabic mythology. Arabic does not mean the sand niggas, as my uncle used to call them motherfuckers all the time. The Arabs are not the original. None of this shit is the original. It is a copy or a composite of you. Remember, nothing of this shit is original. It is a composite or composites of you. Just like when motherfuckers hate the Bible, it's composites of your information. They took out stuff out of it so you couldn't read certain parts of it. They have 16 chapters of the Bible as it is now. They have 16 chapters removed and they're hidden at the Vatican. The Book of Thomas, they're in the Gnostic text. Where you get the other information, this is when you got to do your due diligence and research. The Gnostic text give you the other 16 chapters. The true Book of Enoch, the true Book of Ephesians, the Book of Thomas, the Book of Mary. Yeah, Mary wrote a book too. All them different books. But in Arabic mythology, are a supernatural spirit below level of angels and devils, treacherous spirits of changing shape. Treacherous spirits in their verbal form constitute classes of jinn. Jinn are beings of flame or air, or were capable of assuming human or animal form, and are who are said to dwell in humans for any harm done to them, intentionally, unintentionally, and are said to be responsible for many of the diseases and all kinds of accidents. However, those human beings knowing the proper magical procedure can exploit the jinn to their advantage. Interesting. Belief in the jinn, common in early Arabia, were thought to inspire poets and soothsayers. Even Muhammad originally feared that his revelations might be the work of jinns. Their existence was further acknowledged in official Islam, where indicated in they, like human beings, will have to face eventual salvation or damnation. Jinn, especially through their association with magic, have always been a favorite figure in North African, Egyptian or Kemet, Syrian, Persian, Turkish folklore, and are the center immersed in popular literature, notably the Thousand and One Nights in India and Indonesia. They are entered in local Muslim imaginations by way of Quranic descriptions, the Quran. So when you take that aspect right there, fire and water, that's the first aspect of jinn. So you look at the synonymous of creating, how they created and shaped this sphere. They cannot create anything new. They cannot create anything new. So they must only sustain from what they only can sustain from the space of where they got their original energy from. That's when I go down and I break down whenever you're in a certain position, and however that position started, or where that position, the conduits that created that position, that energy, it must be kept in continuum. Shit like that makes you think about why the fuck we gotta stay in Iraq all the fucking time. Why we gotta stay in Iran and Iraq all the time. Nothing they do is based on a physical incompetence of they need more money and need more oil. If I created everything at this level, what the fuck do I need if I can just create it? Trump about to send out a stimulus package. Just create some fucking money. If I have the ability to create something, what the fuck do I need? Why would I need money? Why do I need oil? Why do I need any of these things to sustain my shit if I can just go create it or go get it? Because there's a power source that they need. The power source being you. The power source being us. We're that power source to power all their shit. We're the battery. So they tell you don't have any power. They put a battery in your back to make you do some dumb shit. They put a battery in your back and go tell you to go work in the steel mill or go work at wherever you're working at. Or they put a battery in your back and go tell you to go shoot somebody over in a war. They put a battery in your back, give you a little bit of charge. Boom, you're going to do it in the name of this, and boom, you're good. Keeping you locked into that aspect. So when you look at that fire and air story, you think about heaven and hell. You think about the higher and the lower parts of yourself. We understand it's the higher and the lower parts of ourselves. But for a motherfucker that is dead and in belief, they need heaven and hell. They need somewhere to look forward to and need somewhere to stay away from. And then that brings the whole narrative of you being in a horrible situation at your house, in your home, like when you were little, and then now you're stepping into clarity of you created your own heaven based on the constraints of what the fuck hell was. I'm not going to do this because of this. You become the other end of the extreme. So you just created a wave. You created a wave or a pole against the electromagnetic field of the earth. That's what the fucking Kemites were trying to tell you about the pyramids and these points. They were telling you about the fucking pyramids. It don't give a fuck. It don't matter what the fuck, how the hell to make it anymore. It can be replicated and keep the, as long as you understand the mathematics, the spell itself, you can manipulate it and use it to your own gain in any shape or form. You can shape shift it into any form that you want. Once you understand the power, you can shape shift it in anything you fucking want. As long as you understand the power code and you obey the laws. For a while, they obeyed the laws. They've been obeying. They, in the aspect of trying to be you, created laws to subdue you. Them trying to be you, they created laws that were intellectually fit for them to subdue you. Mommy did it, daddy did it, so we can do it too. You mad at your kids. Think about the anger you have from your kids. When with a child, niece, nephew, your kid, when you get upset when they do something. They're doing it based on their understanding of it. You're mad at your fucking kids for what? They're doing exactly what the fuck they're supposed to do. Be kids. Be children, be hellious, be rebellious, so they can learn shit. You get emotionally locked into a time zone because you got stuck in that pocket of slavery. All my slaves were hurt. We were always hurt. So you got stuck in that mindset. You got stuck in that space, that militant mindset. That was your calling. That was your purpose at that point in time. So when you came into, I'm no longer going to do the Christian thing, the Islam, the Muslim, the Hindu, which they're all aspects of your energy. Can't say that enough. You came into another set. You came into the older set. You came into the sect of the negative energy, that energy space where the jinn dwell. You came into that space directly. You cut off your, I don't want to say shield. You cut off your head. You cut off your arm despite you needed your arms. You cut off a body part, you amputated yourself, and then you went into their blind. And now motherfuckers in this aspect now, those Shun and Yemenya and all these aspects of energy, and now they're serving it. But the minute that you were crowned, the minute that you crowned out of your mother's vagina or C-section, you came out of your mother's stomach, however you got here, you were crowned. When you were indoctrinated, every entity and every energy knew your name. Every energy knew your name. And every energy ever since then has tried to keep you down from understanding and you getting to your name, getting to your divine rights. When you look at this physical aspect and you look at a video, there's an older video, and the man, the dude, like the new face of Egypt, the pale face of Egypt, they were doing an interview with him, and he was like, those monkeys can't own this. These monkeys can't earn this. He was upset. But if I've been given something and I'm said I can keep it as long as I guard it with my life. And I understand that there are spiritual people, so now they're separated from the spiritual being, so now they're emotional. So if I call them a nigger, if I say they're a monkey, if I say these slanderous terms, they're gonna get emotional, and they're gonna do one of two things. They're gonna riot and then break the laws that we created for them, or they're gonna say, "Fuck it, I don't want to go over there. I just want to fuck with them." Making that phone call talking about who's all over there. Now I'm fucking the people. I ain't gonna go over there. But there can be one person over there that you want that you fuck with, but you ain't gonna go over there because all the other people. You don't want to go to a certain space because if I go over there and I'm fucking with the motherfuckers over there, and then someone gonna get on my nerves, it's gonna fuck up my energy and my mood. Who the fuck cares? I ain't there for them. I'm here for this. I'm not there for that. I'm here to get this. I'm here to get what I need to get, and I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna go to the store and go pick up my fucking chips and my shit, my dip, and I'm gonna leave. I don't give a fuck what the fuck's over there. They ain't got shit to do with me. That's the mindset that you gotta. That's the mindset going into our new year. Happy New Year, by the way. For our new year, this is when you're setting that tone. This moment of reset is forcing you to sit your ass the fuck down and really look at shit. Really read, really study, really take understanding of why you did certain things at certain points in time. That spiral effect shit's coming back into play, and you're like, oh shit, that happened like this, and this. Why is this happening all over again? Why didn't I do that the first time? Because your eyes weren't open to it like it is now. The one thing that should serve you is that there's so many distractions now. When you get to the level like, damn, there's a lot of distractions. And they're coming, they used to seem so fast. But now I'm out of the aspect of time. So if they're repeating themselves, let me find the pattern. Finding that pattern, finding that rhythm, finding what part is your sample and pulling what resonates with you, that sample out that resonates with you, and putting it into tune for yourself. Because the shit that I do may not work for you, but it works for me because I have the inherent knowing of what it does. So when I do the consultations, the first thing I tell a person, I'm not guaranteeing that this shit is going to work as it worked for me. But I can guarantee you, if you put in the work and you are true of your heart, your true mind, it will work for you. Man, it didn't work the way you said it would work. Because I didn't say do it the way I did. I said do it the way you're supposed to do it. Add your shit to it. You didn't go through what I want. You didn't go through what the fuck I went through. So you can't apply the same energy that I applied to it. Because my energy came from the happenings that happened in my life. In my career mode as I was rising. You got to understand the conduits of what happened in your life to apply to the formula. The other part of the formula is always going to be you. There's the methodology. There's the mythos. There's the knowledge. That's why it's called knowledge of self. It's not called knowledge of everybody. I actually had to tell somebody that it's not the knowledge of everybody. You got to break that. You got to break that mindset of that unity, this lower level 3D unity. This I had a dream type shit. And then that goes into the aspect when you look at why certain people are allowed to play in the game for so long. Why certain people are allowed to play in the game for so fucking long. When you look at the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, which I listen to when I study, in the aspect of understanding, you look at him and the things that he says, the things that he brings to the table, as I'm going down further into, all right, cool. I want to make sure I got that queued up. As he look at what he brings to the fucking table, he's been saying the same thing for years. The only thing that is different, about what he's brought to the table for years is now he has a sustained culture in what he said. We have businesses, we have schools, we have this, we have that. We have created a nation. We have created a sustained space here. But it's the same shit as motherfuckers sitting outside right the fuck now, waiting for something to be given to them that they're just going to burn the fuck away. They're waiting on a stimulus check. They're waiting on an unemployment claim to file. They're waiting on something to come to them so they can sustain where the fuck they're at, their comfort. Everything that's being shown to you is motherfuckers that's comfortable getting shit. This gon' Jesus gonna come. When you can look and they're shirting, look at the aspect of you understanding that you aspects that pop up when you see them, you understand that your shit is in the right direction. You're no longer there to sustain that space. Your memory is no longer clear, clairvoyant of that space. The reason that things can continue is based on you're in that space in some way mentally. The way your mother remembers you. You can be bad as fuck. But I'm going to tell you some real shit. You can be bad as fuck. You can be the biggest revolutionary, whatever the fuck you want to be. But when you are challenged by your mother to tell you to come in there and pray over the goddamn meatloaf, you'll sit down. Mom, I don't do this shit, but I do it for you because I love you. They know your weakness. They know your weakness. Your weakness is still locked into your identity. They'll use that against you. They'll burn your ass up with that shit. So think about what entities connect to you based on burning some shit up. And then you look at the motherfuckers that are worshiping Shango, which is the god of fucking, the entity of fucking war, which is connected to Aries. And then you look at Aries and you think about red, and then you think about Malcolm X was a Martian, rebellious against the norm. Also, you can think about Red Fox, and then you look at Trump, red hair. Let's make another counterfeit. If you put Malcolm X catalog and you look at Trump during his whole campaign when he was coming into office, look at the similarities in what the fuck they said. You can't look at it based on emotion. Look at that for what they said. Both stood for their race. Both ran in aspects for their race. And still do the same shit. But you're still stuck on black and white and all the different fucking colors. Within the truth, there's a line. Within the lie, there's the truth. When they said they're all the human race, they are the human race. But you tried to include yourself within the human race. You ain't been human for a long time. I said that on the fucking podcast. You don't need a fucking ego or a Jiminy Cricket to try to make you a real girl and a real boy. You ain't trying to be human any fucking more. The humanity aspect is being extracted and is left on that autopsy table. You're not fucking human. You're not fucking human. At the lowest level in the conduit, you're a god. You're a goddess. You're a generator, operator, and destroyer. I forgot the acronym for goddess that I created. You're a titan. You're a chaos being. You're a multidimensional being of light and dark. You are duality and divinity. You are the polarities. You are mentalism. You are the laws. You are the laws of the higher righteousness. As you came down, you had to make an understanding and you made a pact with yourself. The laws of Mayat are the pact you made with yourself to release you. I have not killed, I have not stole, I have not did this, I have not coveted my neighbor's goods, I haven't done this, I haven't done this. I ain't done none of that shit. But that human version of myself, not animal version of myself, I probably did all them shits 200-300 times at different aspects of my life and me coming to understanding and surviving in that space. The aspect of karma is for those that have the burden on their heart. The whole aspect of karma is for ones that carry a burden on their heart. So when motherfuckers saying they gonna come back on them, white people gonna do this and do this and do this, the burden on their heart for white people, the Tamahoos, the burden on their heart is, if you wake up, you come into your succession, you come into your divine rights, and what is yours, you do that shit, you're going to do the same thing they did to you because they're stuck in conflict. I can give two shits about them motherfuckers. Don't care. Really, truly do not give a fuck. Because I understand the aspects and the concepts of how they were created and what they were made for. Take that broad stream and you start understanding, when you start looking at our makeup of our family, you understand what the fuck they were made for. And then you can start questioning shit like, it's based off of fear. If I don't fear it, if I'm not thinking about it, if I submit to their fear, then whether or not my intent, no matter what my intention is, I allow myself to be distracted or be put into a certain space. I allow myself to be put into that space. I said this, I was like, I don't want nobody praying for me, period. Don't pray for me. Because even though I understand the ability to reverse the energy, don't make a wish for me. Because I'm good. When you allow, you got to understand, when you come into these agreements with these people, when you come into any agreement with a person, you are agreeing to transfer energy on any level with that person. I don't care if it's a fucking argument and it's heated and your emotions get involved. The moment that you engage in going back and forth with that person, you have created a stream to create and bounce back energy back and forth. So even if that motherfucker did it just to get you mad, get you upset, get you riled up, get you in a fire, blew air into that shit, it makes you take the aspect of, think about the shit you say in concept. I wish a motherfucker would say some shit to me. I wish a motherfucker, I would pop off right now. Think about what you say. I wish a motherfucker would. Think about the wish you just made. You made a wish. And if you look at the history of jinns, we don't get deeper into it, they usually twist the wishes based on what you said. You have to word the words correctly. Words are spells. The way you word and say something, weave something together is what you get from it. If you don't understand the etymology and the true meaning. That's why it's so important to understand the etymology of words. I don't want no motherfucker, I don't want nobody calling me nice that don't understand. The only people that can say something on that understanding, and this is where the compassion comes from. When a motherfucker says, I'm nice, if my mother said I'm a nice person, I'm gonna nod my head and say, yes, mom, I am nice. Because she's in that aspect of that conduit where she's at. I have compassion for what she understands. She does not understand what she does or what she says or what she do. She doesn't understand it. But a motherfucker that has the understanding of certain words, you can tell your tone. When you understand something, your tone changes. Your confidence in how you use it raises. Like, okay. Motherfuckers that pray to worship to each one of the Orishas. If you don't understand the basis of what each Orisha is, you become a servant of each said Orisha. Shango being the one of war, Yeminya being of water. In each aspect, we're going to break down as we get deep into these jinns. You become a servant to that. So you must be in a constant state of conflict, a constant state of war. If you're stuck under that cipher, you don't understand the energy that you were indoctrinated into. As you came down, they got him. Let's put him over here, He's trapped over here. He's trapped under this. He's trapped under Gemini, trapped under Taurus, trapped under Pisces, trapped under Aries. He's trapped under the fire signs. He's trapped under the air signs. Cool. So then your emotions, they know you more than you know yourself. That's deeper than a motherfucker just knowing your fucking history from 8,000 years ago and dug up some archaeological digs and put the shit in the British Museum. It's deeper than that. When you think surface, all you get is surface. When you think on the surface level, all you can receive is the surface. When you think based on what you see in 3D, all you can get in return is that same reflection of 3D. So if your emotions get in that tanglement, and I give you a 3D image of something that you had to defeat or learn from, but your emotions and your pride tell you, nah, don't fuck with that. My whole life I was told not to fuck with white people. No, you were told not to fuck white people, not fuck with white people. Let's get into the Yakasha, also spelled Yaksa, Yakksha. Also spelled, I did the other spelling. Sanskrit masculine singular. Sanskrit, Yakasha is for the masculine aspect of that energy. And Yakisa, Yaksi with an I, or Yakisin is the feminine singular form of it. in India. The class of generally benevolent but sometimes mischievous. This Capricorn written right in there. Capricios. Capricorn, or rapacious, or basically mischievous, sexual, or even murderous nature spirits who are the custodians of treasures that are hidden within the earth in the roots of the trees. They're the powerful magicians and the shapeshifters, the principal Yakshas or the Kuruba, who rule the mythical Himalayan kingdom called Alaka. Yakshas are often given homage as deities of a city, district, lake, or well. In their worship, together to believe in the Nagas, serpent deities. Read that one more time. Their worship with the popular belief in the Nagas, the serpent deities, your Kundalini energy, getting stuck in that. The feminine fertility deities, Estar, and the mother goddesses, Sophia, Kali, Yemenya, Oshun, may have had its origins among the indigenous people of India. Yakasha worship coexisted with the priests conducted sacrifices of the Vedic period. Because we're always reading, let's look what Vedic means. Want to put it on tape. The Vedic religion is called Vedism, the religion of ancient Indo-European speaking peoples who entered India about 1500 BCE. From the name of the collections of the sacred text known as the Vedas. Vedism is the oldest strength of religious activity in India, for which there existed written materials. More about going to sleep. It was one of the major traditions that shaped Hinduism. Knowledge of Vedic religions has derived in surviving texts and also certain rites and continue to be observed within the framework of modern Hinduism. The earliest Vedic religions' beliefs also held some common with the 100. And then they wanted me to, I'm not doing a trial of anything. Going back to the Encyclopedia Britannica. Going back down here. Okay, cool. The Vedic period. And the art sculpture of the Yakshas were among the earliest deities to be depicted, apparently preceding the images of the Bashividas and of the Brahminical deities, one of the deities that they used to create the devil, whose representations that influenced those prototypes were the tenets of gods and kings, later of Hindu, Buddhism, and Yan art. When you look at the aspect of how they created the devil, and then you look at the Brahmin religions, Abrahamic religions, Brahmanian and art, and the Abraham and Armenic, those synonymously tie together to how they create. You see how they take aspects. So when you take the aspect of, you look at Christian religion, and it pushes against no sex before marriage or not understanding sex. Sex is taboo. When you go look at the writings and the stone templates, when you look at the Indian part of culture and you read those certain templates, all they did was tantra. The breathing rituals, breath work, all these things, meditations. That's why they said meditation was so bad, because it defeated the person. Someone can't get to you once you were in a meditative state. All these little aspects key together, and then you start being able to put the fragments together and understanding of like, wow, wait. So that's why they said this was bad, and that's why they said this was bad. If I tell you something's bad, I have to give you images that match it to be bad, so you don't go look at it. So the first thing you'll look at, if you go into the Encyclopedia Britannica, it's online, and you read as a servant, I don't want to fuck with that anymore. But when you are reading these things as yourself, Everything that you are reading, you're reading as yourself. That's how you find your link into the information as you grow stronger into yourself, into your higher self. As you're reading the information, you read it as yourself. Even slide your name in there a couple times. That puts you into the mindset, that puts you into the thought process. This is about me. So since it's telling you it's about you, you don't fear it. Because you don't fear yourself, right? You learn how to trust yourself, right? That's all about that growth. That's all about you growing. Taking the aspect also. Coming back, tacos. All right, cool. Coming back into the aspect of understanding, going deeper into yourself, and understanding that they're of Earth. This is how you put fragments together of contradictions in the bizarre. You're looking at Earth. Now you can go look at the Earth signs, astrology. All of it connects. A man that knows one book knows none. So now you want to look at the astrology part. What are the Earth signs? What are the Earth signs representations now? What are the strengths and the weaknesses of each Earth sign? And then you look for the deities that match those signs. For Taurus, you will look up mainly Hathor. You will look up Sekhmet with her horn. Like you will look up Estar. You look up all the horn deities, Pans, and all those deities. Each deity, but then also, as I broke down the other week, when you're looking at these poles to understand the other half of yourself, you got to understand the other deity. A lot of the positive parts of your sign that you characteristic as you evolve, the other half of the other side of that polarity, those are the negative parts of you. I can't stand fucking Geminis and Scorpios because they this, and this, and this, and this. That's the negative aspect of you. You're looking at the negative aspects of that, of yourself in balance. That's why it comes into your space. Almost lost train of thought. Okay, we're back. Let's get a little more to the Skinfolk, then we're going to dive deeper into this. When you're looking at Skinfolk, everybody that got the same skin ain't you. They're not for you. They're not you. They're not for you. They're not for your best content. This is breaking that unity concept. We got to stand together. We got to stand together. And the truth of the matter, you ain't on my wavelength. I ain't trying to stand with you. You ain't on my wavelength and you're not growing into the wavelength that I'm on, the frequency that I'm on. I'm not trying to stand with you. I'm not a revolutionary by no means, shape, or form, because I'm past that. My revolution, me understanding the higher, me not in the 3D aspect of what a revolutionary is on this level. When someone talks about a revolutionary, that's not my aspect. There may be somebody's aspect, and that's what may be needed in that space, but that's not my space. My space is in the occult. My space is in demystifying. My space is taking away to understand it on the level of what it actually is right in front of you, seeing between the lines. So when you take an aspect of diving into yourself, that's what I do. Let's dive into you. Let's understand these fragments and pieces and put them together so there's a puzzle. That's my aspect. That's me. That's what I do. I don't do I'm going to go stand and with 50 million other black men and go march somewhere. That's not going to be me. You're not going to see me holding up a sign saying Black Lives Matter and keep hope alive. Black Lives Matter, keep hope alive. Never forget These are triggers or rubs of a lamp. Those are the triggers that rub the lamp, that anoint an entity to do your bidding. If you look at every single one of these things, there's something behind it, but there's something behind it. Black Lives Matter was by John Soros. He funded Black Lives Matter. But behind John Soros is something else. John Soros is a front man that was given enough energy and enough power to be in that position to stand there. So to somebody that's in the mindset of oppression, all they're going to look at is John Soros. To somebody that's stuck in the mind of oppression, all they're going to look at is Weinstein's cases with child rape and pedophilia. But at the same time, Woody Harrelson or Woody Harrelson, I think that's that nigga name. He adopted his Asian daughter, then married her when she turned like 19. So you paying attention to that, then what? There's certain things that you pay attention to that don't really fucking, like, after a while, you just start looking like that shit don't make fucking sense. Is there something, just because it doesn't make sense, is there something, I understand it doesn't make sense, but is there something there? Usually the things that don't make the most sense are the most spiritual content. The shit that Trump said, there's a lot of motherfuckers that are dying that have never died yet. That's the spirit got a hold of his ass. Because it is true. It's a lot of motherfuckers coming into consciousness that have not died yet, and they're dying for the first time. This is their first go around of actually embracing death. So when he said that, in interpretation, and this is how you make it work for you, you put it in your favor, he said some shit that certain motherfuckers aren't going to get and going to laugh it off like he's stupid. And then certain motherfuckers going to be like, he wouldn't have said that unless he knew something. And then there's the other motherfuckers like, he said it. Okay. I know what that means. For me, I'm going to move forward. That's the aspect of you getting into yourself of understanding and releasing from what you're tethered to and what anointed you in the first place. What you anointed in the first place. That goes in the aspect of understanding relationships that you get into, relationships that motherfucker will get into a relationship. This is like the small escape of it. People that get into relationships or into understandings with others with wishes and hopes that they're able to obtain something that they're not willing to attain for in themselves. They're not willing to go deep enough into themselves to obtain it. I need your spark. I need your energy because my energy is weak. I feel that my energy is not strong enough. I decided to put it back up. My energy is too weak. I'm not strong enough to do that. And then you get stuck in that tandem of arguments that they're having with themselves. You allowed yourself to agree to become the open-ended form for their argument with themselves. Arguing back and forth with a motherfucker about fucking knowledge and aspects of shit that you interpreted for yourself to work. You just made an open, you just took the open, you just took the ended, the open part of that ended and made it, closed it and contained it. And you created a cipher. So my consciousness at this level and your consciousness over here about this, and you want to argue about this, and I'll argue about this, you created a cipher. You created a sphere. You created a whole world, a whole universe, now that you got to keep in power or it's going to fall apart. The same parts that kind of said that sphere got to stay in that fucking sphere in order for it to exist. This is the land of fucking being fed upon. Fear, conflict, fights, wars. That's how this whole fucking shit came together. All this shit came together from the wars above, created this below. As above, so below. Correspondence. The shit that happened up here in the spirit realm, in the realm of the unseen, created everything down here. When you fell. And something fell on top of you. That's the thought process when you look into the Bible and it says the first come last and the last come first. You're the first. That's why you're coming up last in everything that you fucking do. No matter how hard you try, you have to work extra hard just to come in first. And you're only first. You're only ahead of your own people. Your own people. He was the first one to go to college. He was the first one to become a doctor. He was the first one to become a lawyer. He was the first one to go into the military. Gotta hope that you carry on the tradition. You got a lot of weight on your head, kid. Boy, you got a lot of weight on your head. You know, your dad was a general, this in the army. Your grandfather was a sergeant major, and you was this, and this was this, and this was this. More burden put onto your heart based on humanity and morality. Wishful thinking. At moments of weakness, to keep something weak in the lower cipher of belief and addiction, and you use church as that instance, or any religious base as that instance, when they're open in that space, in that dome, in that steeple, something comes over them. That's why you have different symbols for that. Then you start seeing the symbols for what the fuck they are. Before they had the gladiators. Now they got the gladiators with the symbols. Why you think they... Here's a thought that I just thought about, just came on top of that. Why do you think they suspended the NBA? Because somebody has a fear, arrogance. Somebody has a fear that motherfuckers are understanding how to reverse shit now. Motherfuckers are coming online and reversing shit now because they pay attention to shit. They can reverse some shit now. Nigga, we cannot risk them getting that energy back. We got to shut all of it down at all costs, because if they get that fucking energy, it's over. It's been over. Their arrogance and their pride, their true nature is arising in the aspect of I'm doing this and we're doing that and this is happening and this is happening and that's happening and this is going over there. This has to happen. It's a mass fucking reset. Their whole main thought process, it was a very breakthrough moment. And I celebrate breakthroughs when I notice them. I didn't see, just like I didn't really see Christmas pop off the way it popped off ever since. That means I'm further ahead of it. I didn't see Thanksgiving pop off the way it popped off. I didn't see St. Patrick's Day pop off the way it popped off. The energy's off. At this level, the energy's off. Every motherfuckers that are in tune, we're feeling that the energy is off. The shit ain't fucking hitting right. St. Patrick's Day didn't hit the way it was supposed to hit. Valentine's Day didn't hit the way it was supposed to hit. You may have had your own little personal energy, and like me, I reversed a lot of energy. But like shit ain't hitting the same way. But the first thing that actually fucking hit, and it hit hard. And I felt that rise of that energy was the spring equinox or the new year. That shit actually hit. that warmth, that feeling, that abundance, that prosperity, that energy, that going forward, that shit hit. I was like, this shit hit me. I had a reflection moment. I want to say it was last night, and I wrote it in my notes. I was like, damn. I wrote it within my heart. I was like, damn. All this shit ain't fucking phasing me like it need to. It's still not hitting me like it used to. Shit like this used to make you shit like this with like, even if I didn't outwardly show panic or show a thought process, even if I didn't show it, I still thought it. It doesn't matter what the fuck I showed. It's what I show reinforces it. It matters on what I thought. What shows reinforces it. What matters is what you think. So this whole crowning of fear shit don't faze me. I'm moving along the lines like fucking normal. Doing everything that I usually do. The only thing that is done for the motherfuckers that are on that level, you're in that frequency, you're in that space, is opened you up to do more of what you are doing in the right direction. Is giving you time of reflection to sit your ass down, to really take time and study yourself. Your prosperity, remember, you're the prosperity, you're the abundance. That is you, that is coded within inside you. So if you have a moment to sit down and actually meditate on you being the abundance, you being prosperity, you being wealth, you being the greatness, you being the dark, and you being the light, you being the peace, or whatever that level, whatever mantra you program at that fucking point in time, guess what happens? It now has a time to actually set itself. And now you can understand the principles of what kept you from setting. Set, soot, black dot, melanin, soul, you, the original source. Now you can take it back and understand, like, damn, now I got this time to sit down. I can really look at shit. I made a post earlier today, and I think I made a post yesterday. I was like, most motherfuckers will look into the mirror and they don't want to look into the mirror because if they look into the mirror, they'll see the Walking Dead. Motherfuckers are scared to be in their home by themselves, and they're calling themselves bored because they're not willing to sit with themselves. So if you're not willing to sit with yourself, you're lusting for somebody to sit with you and accept you as you when you don't even accept you. So if I don't accept myself as me, and I expect somebody to come into fruition in my space and accept me, as they see me, it becomes a matter of time before you start thinking in the back of your fucking head. You'll be sitting there like, do they really like me for me, or they like me for this? Because you're texting yourself, do I like myself for this, or do I really like myself? Do I really love myself? Let's get deeper into these different aspects. Diva or diva, this is the original term. Sanskrit for divine. Iranian Deva is the Vedic religion of India and later Hinduism, one of many gods often roughly divided into sky, air, earth divinities on the basis of their identification of the forces of nature. In the pantheistic systems that emerged by the late Vedic period, the devas became subordinate to one supreme being. During the Vedic period, the divine powers were divided into two classes: the devas and the asuras, or the Avestan. The devas and the orishas. It says it right there in the Encyclopedia Britannica. The Devas and the Orishas. Different spelling, but that word breaks down to Orishas. The Indian Devas became to be more powerful than the Orishas, and the later would eventually took the meaning of demon. The Devas became to be more powerful than the Orishas, and later eventually took on the name meaning of demon. In Iran, the reverse took place, and the devils were denounced as demons by the Zoroaster, the founder of the Zoroastrianism. They still survive in such devas in Persian folklore, typically in the epic Book of Kings by the Persian poet Phaedrus and the devil of Christian Europe. You understand why taking that, oh shit, I got smoke on my face. Taking that aspect of understanding, and then you look at how Islam is based. One side took one, and then the other side was divided into the other on conflict, both sides. The two main religions, two main binding teachings, Christianity and all of its sects, and Islam and all of its sects. When you look at Islam and you think about Allah and the 99 attributes of Allah, they are the counterparts or the counterbalances on those poles of Christianity and all of its denominations, or Catholicism and all of its denominations. Two sides of the same fucking coin. Two sides of the same fucking coin. When you look at then when you take that understanding of building into that, you're like, it doesn't matter what side you pray to, you're still making wishes to the same deities. So then you understand the connection of when people don't fully let go of something, they're under the same master. The Lord blessing all the trap niggas. Their Lord is blessing all of the trap niggas. Niggas that are trapped are being blessed by their Lord. So when you look at the aspect, this gets into the aspect of understanding music. When you understand the beats, the melodies, the things that are said, and they're set to a certain tone that comes natural to your spirit. That's why you can sit there and remember a whole fucking Biggie song or rap a whole fucking Future song, which there's not many words in a Future song. But anyway, you can understand all the words to these songs because the rhythm, that beat, resonates with your natural self, your natural frequency. So to keep you locked on a certain frequency, I got to play a certain melodic beat or a certain repetition to keep you locked into that space. Then you mark scores by time. In the fours. 4 beat, 3 beat. So now you listen to everybody rap, they rap to that same repetitive 4 beat. They do that over and over and over again. Playing with your notes, playing with your fucking keys, playing with your emotions, keeping your energy in motion so it never stills. If I keep your emotions, if I keep your energy in motion, you can't be still. Think about physical attributes when your emotions are all over the place. If you're not happy, you're not happy, you ain't going to fucking sleep. You're not mad, you ain't going to fucking sleep. You're going to toss and turn. You sad, you're going to cry yourself to sleep. On the lower level, when you cried yourself to sleep whenever your mom whooped your ass, you cried yourself to fucking sleep. So all that was instilled with you is the trauma of being beat to sleep. So if you think about your DNA and everything's within your DNA, think about what triggers are put online from something happening to you over and over and over again. That's the same part of understanding the initiation process. And then that's when you start looking at the motherfucking the Ifa priest in Africa right now, $500, $600, $700, $1,000. It's all over my fucking Instagram feed. I actually had to unfollow the motherfucker. He kept trying to ask me to come study with him to learn Ifa. In the aspect of motherfuckers teaching you shit under a following, they don't need you to be there to be a student. They need you there to be their power source. This is when you get into the aspects of listening to these certain followings in these certain groups. They need a certain amount of energy in there to have their offerings not be offset. So that video I played earlier in this lecture, I'm talking about Kenneth Copeland, motherfucker went out there and said, no matter what you do, make sure your offerings are at that fucking church. Make sure your offerings in that motherfucking church. Then go back to do what the fuck ever else you want to go do, what you're supposed to be doing. But make sure your offerings are in that fucking church. That's the same thing as Creflo Dollar, the nigga in Atlanta, opening up a Cash App account for motherfuckers' ties since churches are closed. If there's a way in, they will use that way in. If there's a crack within you, they're going to find that way in. That's like you taking the aspect, you blame everybody else for your shit, and your ego chest is on you, yeah, motherfuckers ain't shit. Man, I wish a motherfucker would. Oh, he made a wish. Let's make it happen. Man, I pray if you bring my Aunt Sue back, I'm gonna do right this time. I promise. I'm gonna stop doing this, and I'm gonna stop doing this, and I'm gonna stop doing this. Okay, pray hard enough. Make your wish. You said you would stop doing this and this and this. Okay, cool. I'm gonna make it happen. Because I need motherfuckers to believe in me. I need people to believe that we have all of this power. So they play both sides. Remember, at this level, everything's on that low level so you can see it. So when you get higher into that 4D lens, you start seeing the conspiracies. You start seeing these motherfuckers play both sides. That's part of their fucking nature. Their behavior is to be on whatever side is winning. Because all they understand is wins and losses. I gotta be on whatever side is winning. Whichever side has more power. And that's when you can start understanding why these motherfucking politicians go into fucking the community of black people and say a bunch of shit to get them riled up. See, he's about us. He's about us. He ain't like all the other, he ain't all like, you a good cracker, man. So you a good cracker. You ain't like the other crackers. You a good cracker. Got that energy. Same thing on the same other side of that fucking balance, of that other fucking scale. You got Mr. Revolutionary Blackity Black. You think they have an image and they're saying things that appease to your ego, but since they're appeasing to your ego, you won't look any further past them. It's like on the same instance when this white man over here says this over here says some good shit, you won't look anywhere past them. It's not about that image. The image that they put in front of you is to keep you locked into a certain space. So the minute that motherfucker brings a charge to that battery that's in your back, you go act out. We need this, and we need guns, and we need this, and we need this. You behind the fucking curve anyway. You know how many white redneck revolutionaries right now been stockpiling guns since they got out of the fucking war? You just started. So you gonna use their weapons against them? They believe in death. So therefore, for you to enter that realm of battling them, you must believe in what they believe in the aspect and intellectual understanding, the conduit to what they understand. When you step into that realm, you must accept everything that's of that realm. Motherfuckers is fucked up right now because they mad about, take the aspect of, not all sisters, but some sisters, the aspect of having a gay best friend. They don't feel threatened. They can submit and tell their wildest shit. It's not the aspect of what the conduit is. It's the conduit and understanding to that mainframe of they're implementing, they're reflecting the feminine energy in a way that's good for them to believe that they can be comfortable. Remember, the reflection of something that's imbalanced, the reflection of something that you either serves you or doesn't serve you shows an imbalance within yourself. The reflection of something outside of you based on its imbalance shows the imbalance that's within you. So your same hatred for gay dudes, gay niggas, and gay guys shows an imbalance in reflection to your feminine energy. Their fear, their imbalance of displaying the feminine and masking the masculine is a reflection of you masking your feminine and using the mask of your masculine. And then you follow the trigger words. If it ain't gay, it ain't right. If it ain't gay, you a homophobe. And all these other fucking morality-based terms. They created their own reality in there. They created their own rings of morality within their reality. Their own righteous word, their own righteous what they live by. In order to live in this position, in this realm, you got to live by their fucking rules. You got to play the game by the rules that are played, the rules that are on the board. If not, you're going to be in constant conflict and be upset with yourself all the fucking time. I don't like that shit at all. That's some bullshit. All right, let's get into these. The next level. Yep, the devil of Christian Europe. Buddhist cosmology posits in the existence of three realms. The Devatas, gods and goddesses, reside in the highest of the six Gayatas or destinies of the lowest realm. The Kama Dhatu, realm of desire, within destiny, there are many heavens, each inhabited by many deities. The most important of these heavens is the Tuista heaven, where the spirit really want me to say this. Let me say it freely. The future Buddha, Matai, awaits the time of his coming to earth, the heaven of the three gods, the trinity of the three gods, which is presided over India presided by Indra, Sanskrit for Indra, sometimes called Shankar, Sanskrit for chakra, your chakras. 3 heavens, the 3 lowers, chakras. Sometimes called Shankar or chakra. The heaven of the 4 guardian kings who are important protective deities in most Buddhist contexts. One that knows one book knows none. Going into this aspect, the Vedic chants, religious chants in India, the expression of hymns in forms of the Vedas, the Oms, all those things. The practice dates back to 30,000 years is probably the world's oldest continual vocal tradition. The earliest, I'm gonna put this right here because I don't like the way that looked when I did that. All right, cool. The earliest collection of Samhita of Vedic texts in the Rigveda, R-I-G-V, the Rig Veda, containing about 1,000 hymns. These chantic syllabic style, a type of heightened speech, which is a syllable to a tone, 3 levels of a pitch, employed a basic reciting tone, is embellished by neighboring tones above and below, which are used to emphasize grammatical accents in the text. The Rig Veda hymns are the basis for the later collections of the Samaveda, Veda of chants, the hymns of which are sung in style for more florid, melodic, and melistic, 1 word or 2 more notes, rather than the syllabic range of tones extending to 6 or more. A nature of numerical system, a notion together with an oral tradition that stresses absolute precision in the text. Innotation, incantation, and the bodily gestures assert to perpetuate the stable tradition to ensure its uniformity throughout parts of India. The Vedas are chanted today exactly as they were centuries ago. I was reading up on researching gang signs. Gang signs are a part of the mantra, part of the Vedas, and when they're set in certain tones. If I take information and I put some over here and I put some over here and I put the information scattered, your body has been scattered across the earth, across the planes of the realm. Your body's been scattered across the earth of the realm. Every fragment of you is across the realm. If I teach you subjective thought, which I've gone into before, if I teach you subjective thought, you will never be able to put 2 and 2 together based on critical logic. If I separate you away from yourself, tell you that death is real, I can separate it, and then when I bring it back to you, when I bring this information back to you, it's all scrambled. You don't understand it anyway. Mango, guava, and orange, best shit on earth. But if I put you in that mindset, you won't look at the things. You'll think you're doing something different. That's not black enough. You cannot, in the aspects of understanding, let's get into jinn work real quick. In your shadow, you created a shadow. You created a conduit in your identity. Your identity or your ego created defenses. Your identity was reinforced by your ego, so now you have an identity. It created defenses or shadows. It created conduits to do your bidding. It created conduits to do your unconscious bidding. Remember, there's no good or bad. It's negative and positive. What serves you, what doesn't serve you. So if your ego is driven by, let's say, money. Let's use that simple one. That's simple for everybody. If your mindset is driven by money, then the conduits that create money, paper, earth, fire, the conduits that create money, remember, everything must follow. In order for something to work, it must follow every one of the laws. It must bounce on every one of the laws and can be controlled by every angle of the elements. That's how things sustain physical reality. It must have a characteristic of every element to become solid. In order for you to exist, you are of every element. Wait. Wait. I did it right? Okay. Start circle. If I lock you within your elements that created you, sealed by the circle, you're locked in that. That's a cipher. When you get into numerology, the sacred numbers and all that sacred aspect, just you start breaking down those parts. If I lock you within that circle, that ring of whatever element I choose, I put you around. You're what you identify with. Now you're around those elements, so you're always in conflict. You're always angry. Your emotions are always angry. Your emotions are always of fire. Fire needs air. The void of earth. It needs something to burn. So it always brings you around the aspect of burning shit down or taking shit apart. So you've been crowned into fire. That's why they said first down came as a flood, this time it's coming as fire. When they were talking about the first time was a flood, they were speaking about your coming into birth, that water birth coming into fruition. There's an interesting line within the book I'm reading now, one of the books I'm reading. It talks about fire and the body cannot sustain until all the water is gone. So then you put it in the fire. So now everything's coming by fire. That's the rising of your serpentine or your naga or your kundalini energy coming into effect. That's why it's been getting hotter when it's to be getting colder. It is not really cold when it's supposed to be cold sometimes. Everything's switching. Everything's feeling something because everything's evolving. The calamity, the chaos, you're learning to either feed from us or you're either submitting to the chaos or you're learning how to feed from the chaos. Going into the aspect, I was talking about the Orishas. That's what I was talking about. When we look at Shango or Yemenya, or we look at any of the Orishas, you start to be able to formulate their connections to the jinn, the jinn folklore. That's that you put together these fragments like, wait, they have the characteristics of the same characteristics as the jinns. And Sanskrit and this around this time and this around this time and this around this time. All that shit was written in. So you get stuck on one aspect or another, then you get stuck on these distraction like this. The coronavirus is just another wishful thinking. I bring something so bad to your 3D reality of your understanding on a lower level that you wish for something better. So if you're on this level and you're wishing for advancement, change, because there's no evolution on this. There's no evolution. It's only change. It's only shifting. It's only shifting and getting worse. It's only shifting. Shit can only change so much before it comes back full circle. Shit can only change so much before it comes back around. It's like you get into a relationship with somebody and they change. They don't hit on me anymore. They don't do this. It's because the conduit is not needed at the time for them to survive. How they've survived has become the most detrimental aspect of them moving into anything else. How they survive is them now become is become their detrimental understanding, a way of thinking, a way of life. They survive based on war. Their behavior, their nature is war, conflict. The other end of that, the other part of that duality is love, understanding. In totality, the essence of love moves at a slower rate. They can't understand that slower rate. So they're stuck in this rate going fast. They don't have the time to study. They've never had the time to study. So that pattern of fear elongated. They had to extend that score of fear. They had to extend this score of fear so they had time to study within fear. If I keep you locked in fear, I can study you because I'm used to fear. I can feed from fear. I feed from fear. That's my nature. That's where I came from. So this is natural to me. So I can exist in that. So I exist in that space. I exist in this space like it's normal, like it's beautiful, like it's easy. But I gotta lock you into something. So I lock you in, so I suspend you into the aspect of what time is. So if I lock you into time, the only way I can lock you into something is if it's an aspect of you. Think about all the aspects of the Titans. Take the Titans. Kronos, Gaia, later became Hades. Take the Titans. Study the Great Mother and the Gospels of Sophia. That's some good work. That's some good study of his. Study the Gospels of Sophia, the books Sophia the Great Mother. Forgot who was by. And it tells you the story, it breaks down the story of this world was created, and in order for her to destroy this world, in order for her to put something into this world so it should exist to a certain point of time to your awakening, that story about taking the Titans and destroying the Titans and crumbling them, so you crumble them into earth. The Titan elements are what in all of us. So since they have an understanding of the elements that reside in you based on the reflection of them, they understand how to lock you within those elements. So the element of time that you get locked into leaves you into the aspect of thinking, man, it's been 2 weeks. Man, it's going to be another week before this happens. It's going to be 2 weeks before they drop the stimulus check. It's going to be another week before they do this. And it's going to be another week before they do this. You stuck in a week by week motion, getting weaker and weaker because you keep saying, nigga, I'm going to wait about a week. I'm going to wait a week. I'm going to wait a week. Your brain takes it as, you talking about a week? Oh, we're going to get weaker? It goes into the aspect of understanding the week and the weekend. So many things have been coded into you that your ego feeds off of. Your ego is the ultimate jinn aspect to you. Remember, the only way something that can affect you is if it's already within you. So maybe this is time to manifest with all the negative energy. Maybe. It's not manifesting with the negative energy. It's actually taken to the aspect of learning how to use the negative. Take the aspect of soul food, all the worst parts of the animal, worst scraps and shit, and then turn it into something else. That is alchemy. From the putrid, Bobby Hemming breaks this down in a lot of lectures, wrote this down. From the putrid, you create beauty. Look at take the lotus flower, for example. The lotus flower grows in mud. So from my eye, you look at it from your eyes of looking at the mud. Ugh, mud look bad. Pigs wallow in mud. Mud has all of the nutrients for the lotus flower to blossom. So from a negative space, positive arises. From a negative space, positive always arises. So from this time that seems negative to the dead, to us, this is our time to do the best work. Because ain't nobody moving around. All the energy is in stasis. So it's free to pull from. You know exactly what conduits that they are using. Now that we take the understanding, we understand what fear is based on the lack of understanding. We understand what fear is. Because that's the definition of fear. The true definition of fear is a lack of understanding. Same with hatred, a lack of understanding. You understand that definition, therefore now you can use that definition. Now that you understand the definition, you can unlock that energy and use for yourself. It serves you. Just like when motherfuckers tell you, man, you got to run through the fear. You got to step through the fear. Without ego, that's the truest shit ever. You got to step through the fear. The same fear and hatred, put it like this, think about it like this. The same fear and hatred and lack of understanding and anger and all emotions that led you to where you're at right now, that was your fuel. You were fueled off the negative, unconsciously. So if you got this far, unconsciously using negative energy to propel yourself positively, think about what you do. Think about what you can do with it now that you know what it is. You understand the conduits and you understand the components of what it is. Think about what you can do with it now. It's time to invest in yourself. It's time to invest in the true power, which is you. Moments like this, epidemics, it shows you what you need to see. Niggas are still out there doing the same shit they've always been doing. Niggas outside doing nigga shit. Bad bitches out there doing bad bitch shit. But everything's returning back to its natural state. So if you didn't learn in your time in the illusion, now that everything's being unplugged and you didn't gain any information or any traction, now you got to suffer with the consequence of what the fuck you didn't learn from. Nail salon shutting down all over the fucking place. Hair salon shutting down, hair store shutting down all over the fucking place. Now motherfuckers got to deal with their vanity. If they didn't learn how to maintain and sustain what the fuck they were doing, now they got to wait until something else comes along to do it for them. So they in panic. They're in fear for a lack of understanding. Why would they do this? Da, da, da. I had my last official day at my job. I had a server came in. He was coming in there for his little pay card and whatnot. And like the only thing he kept saying is he walked out of the building like it's a world crisis. They got to find a cure. It'll get better. I heard so much hope in his voice. He was a brother. I heard so much hope in his voice. But he sounded defeated. Hope makes you sound defeated before you even get on the field. Hope makes you defeated before you even get on the fucking field. Saying you have a dream about saving your people makes you sound defeated before you ever get on the field. Because you forget the steps that you took to get to where you got to. In order for somebody to stand behind you in true unison on that same wavelength, they got to be willing to take the same steps in parallel. Motherfuckers out here are literally in the mindset of surviving. The literal Walking Dead, Z Nation. Motherfuckers talk about different zombies, and I hope it ain't the ones off Z Nation. I hope it's the slow ones off the older movies. When in reality, nigga, you the zombie that you are fearing. You see him outside all the fucking time. The lowest ranking zombies, since we going on hierarchies, the lowest ranking zombies would be the fucking crackheads. Baseheads, pipeheads, whatever the fuck you call them in your, wherever the fuck you from. Them the lowest ranking zombies. Those are the lowest ranking of the most functional zombies. Every other zombie go above that. And they're functioning zombies around you all the time based on the aspects of understanding they're separated away from reality. They're halfway in and they're halfway out. So they're separated away from reality, but connected to reality just enough to do basic functions. So think about that definition in being a zombie. And think about how many zombies you actually fucking know. The only drugs are not the drugs that they say you can't do that are illegal in the drugs that they've made legal. This is the realm of addiction and exploitation. Everything feeds upon something at this level. Therefore, everything down here can become an addiction very, very quickly. Everything becomes an addiction down here. In reflection, in perception, look at the richest or the perceived to be the richest motherfuckers on the planet. They'll say the Rothschilds and all that. Look at what they look like. They look like living fucking zombies. Sustaining a light that you create. If you didn't need it, your lords wouldn't create it. They only create what you think you need. They only create what you they only give you based upon your wishes. They give you what you believe that you need. They're not even high enough on the fucking totem pole to create any fucking thing. I did a live and I said you are the soul and you are the root and you are the sun. You are the sun and the root. You are the soul and you are the root. The dead motherfuckers, they crust fucking bones on the fucking soil. They're the root. Their low vibration and belief in something brings catalyst and the foundation for this realm. You being in the space that you're in, and them motherfuckers that are stuck in the space of a movement to unify revolutionary, that movement at that aspect, they're the ones that sustain the pillars of this reality. And then you have the motherfucking chaos beings. And chaos. They give you the aspect that chaos is erratic and it's crazy and chaos is controlled. Chaos is controlled. Chaos is in full control of itself. On the lower levels, chaos is out of control. But chaos is very, very fucking controlled. Chaos is controlled. Chaos can be controlled. You either can learn how to control chaos and feed off of it, or you feed from chaos. Two sides, same polarity, two sides, same coin. This calamity of bullshit for the coronavirus right now, or Black Lives Matter, or never forget, and all the other shit that they've said, that was them feeding the chaos, feeding the crossroads. Back in the day when they did the sacrifice of all those bodies in New Orleans to Papa Legba Baron Somni at that crossroads, their arrogance was like, we only got to do it once. We can trick them. Because that's what they're used to doing. They're used to the deception. We can trick them. So now they got to keep repeating the same sacrifice over and over and over again. So you're stuck in the same sacrificial pattern that you subjected yourself to. You're in a relationship that you've been in too long. Earlier on, I said, you are in the worst domestic relationship in forever. You're in a domestic relationship getting beat on. Motherfuckers getting beat on every day. And then they go put on their sunglasses and put on their nice clothes. And they say, I didn't get beat. I deserved it in some way. That's what's happening at this level. The hand that fed them is no longer able to feed them because it has nothing to feed from. The motherfuckers that are going home, that have awakened, that are going home, that understand the aspect of what home is and creating something else, they're no longer able to sustain them. They're no longer able to contain that energy. They're no longer able to contain your energy here. That's the Christ rising. Bobby Hemmett said that shit a while back when he was talking about the Christ energy rising in the aspect of if that sun fell to the earth right the fuck now. This is their saying it because it's not a real song, but anyway. That sun fell to the earth right now, it burned everything down. Everything gone. Everything. The metaphysical understanding rising is our consciousness. I'll give you an analogy, something that stemmed the thought. If you sit there and think about how the Tamahu react when you stand right next to them, they act erratic. They act erratic based on them being a counterfeit spirit. So when they're faced with the true essence of where their spirit derives from, they don't know how to act. they act out based on their natural behavior. Now think about you as you come into your consciousness. You come into your many levels of your awakening, your consciousness. As you awaken, you're going to go around certain situations, certain people, certain entities, certain places. It's just not going to mess with you anymore. It's going to make you very anxious. Your anxiety is going to kick off. Your emotions are going to go fucking crazy. Because that space can't contain your energy anymore. So you going into a space that doesn't fit you anymore, you get uncomfortable. In the beginning of a lot of motherfuckers' consciousness, they're uncomfortable, but they have a comfort because they have a knowing of themselves, so they want to go share it. So now on the other end, now everybody in that space is uncomfortable. But then you get to a certain space in your consciousness when you go into a space and you're talking to people, and now they're saying the same. This sounds like the same fucking regurgitated rhetoric that you kept hearing over and over and over again, so it starts to get on your fucking nerves. You no longer serve the same master. They're still serving something you're becoming. They're serving what you're becoming. That's where ego can kick in. And that's where you get motherfuckers that surrounded, they become the smartest dumb person in the fucking room. They become the smartest dumb person. They become the most intellectual idiot in the room. I mean to press all those buttons. You become the smartest dumb person in the room. That's that aspect of understanding, like you get to a certain point in your consciousness where you're not thinking about saving anybody because you'll realize that you're just becoming the motherfucker that's regurgitating everything in the room. You just get to that point. You see things for how they are, and then you just like, all right, cool, I don't want to deal with that anymore. That's not something that's not on my agenda, that's not on my to-do list. That's what's happening now. What you are witnessing is an end game. I don't like saying the, because shit don't end in aspect. What you are witnessing is an end game. It's like that round's over. We're done with it. Everything's where it's at. Shut it down. So it's a spiritual fucking happening. That's why when you're looking at these higher ups leaving out of their fucking, stepping out of their offices and stepping down, Uber president stepping down, all these motherfuckers stepping down, Queen stepping down from their shit. The Queen, I think Queen Elizabeth stepped down from shit. You look at all these motherfuckers stepping down from shit. The fuck they gonna do? They all step down. They realize they have no power. They've stepped the fuck down. While motherfuckers on the lower end losing their fucking minds, them motherfuckers like, yep, it's over. It's over for us in this round. You gotta see how it plays out. Everything's showing you the same exact thing. Sit your ass down. We already went through that. Let's go into our, wait, as it loads. All right. In the Japanese religion, you have the Goryu. The Japanese religion, vengeful spirits of the dead. In the Heian period, the Goro were generally considered to be spirits of nobility who had died as a result of political intrigue and who, because of their ill will for the living, brought about natural disasters, diseases, and war. The identities of the Goro were determined by by necromancy. Many were appeased by were appeased by being granted the status of gods. A notable example is Sugawara Mikazine, Sugawra, capital Michizan, a 9th century minister who died in exile and came to be venerated as the god Tenjin. Later in the belief arose Later, the belief arose that anyone could become a Goro by so willing at the moment of death or by meeting the accidental death under unusual circumstances. Various magical practices developed in the 9th and the 10th centuries to ward off consequences of evil spirits, such as the Buddhist recitation of the Nembutsa, invoking the same name of the Buddha Amida, to send off angry spirits to Amida's paradise. And exercising the spirits by Shungando Mountain Aztec right. Man, I cannot talk. The spirit do not like it right now. Mountain aesthetic rites and used in the Inyo magic derived from the Shinto and Taoism. Belief in the power of Goro has survived, particularly among the rural population of Japan, and special memorial services continue to be performed to appease the victims of the untimely death. All right, and then we're into the sorrow side. Getting more into understanding, warding off the demons and all that shit. Now that we're in a space all of these stories end in the same exact way. Sending something off that did not come the fuck back here. All these stories, just in brief, is talking about something not coming back here. When you're talking about the lower level deities, this is going, the aspect of how this is being read is also very interesting because it started with the jinn or the deities that can't leave. And as we're going higher and higher up, Buddha, how we transcended, they're talking about the transcension or not coming back to this space. So at this lower level, motherfuckers thinking these motherfuckers have great power. You're giving them more power. You're giving them your divine signature on their power. So by sitting there telling us that you have a fucking oppressor, and I cannot say that shit a fucking up, saying that you have a fucking oppressor, all that's do is setting your dumb ass up to create a conduit for an oppressor. I have an oppressor. That motherfucker shut me down. These motherfuckers are doing this. All you're doing is giving the counterfeit spirit, the lower energy, that lower jinn energy, its own fucking power. You're giving it a face. You're applying the elements. You're applying the elemental magic, your elements, your essence of your elemental magic, and incantation. You're giving it a face. Playing with the demons, playing with shit that you don't understand, has been the whole narrative to every single one of their fucking movies. The movies, every movie that you see, they play with something that they weren't supposed to play with. There's a movie on this new streaming service called Shudder, and in there's a room. They go into a room, and whatever they say they want in the room, they can have. The only thing is they can't take it out of that space. You can have anything you want in this realm, but you can't take it out of this space. You can have money, you can have fame, you can have power, you can have all of these things, but you cannot take it with you out of this space. So when you're looking at the aspect of understanding and going past a certain space or a certain cipher or a certain realm, in that realm of entertainment. So when you look at the whole Kobe thing and his transition, you can't bypass that realm. You signed up for this. So you can't bypass this realm. Kobe was bypassing that realm. Kobe was doing the occult book series, videos, TV shows, and shit like that. Nigga, you can't go past this realm. Eddie Griffin said that in an interview on Vlad TV. It was like, you don't leave this game clean. You're giving that example every single fucking time. Oh, I'm going to take it. I'm going to go do this with it. Okay. Until you understand what the fuck it is and how it's fucking created, you cannot use it in any other levels. This stimulus package or whatever the fuck they're about to send out, you better use it. You have to release it from what the fuck it is to be able to use it to how you want to use it. Because if you use it, and it's the real thing about energy. It's the real thing about energy. If you use that energy in the space in the way that it's been put the fuck together, you got to use. Remember, you got to keep it in that space. So if I'm in this space right here, right now, and I'm using this platform for how I'm using it, and eventually I got to go to the streaming service that we're gonna be going to later on. We going in. I'm working on the streaming service now. I have to create another conduit for the knowledge that I'm bestowing because I've broken past a certain barrier. In your life, when you're moving to certain spaces, you're moving to a certain level, you're moving to a certain rhythm. Certain shit don't even exist to you anymore on that space or on that level anymore. Certain shit don't even exist to you on this level anymore. That's why that's the main reason for your depression and your sadness and your mental illnesses is because you're trying to sustain something on a level that doesn't fit anymore. The reflection when you seeing motherfuckers sit there and say, I was a girl, but I feel like I'm a man, so I'm a bat like I'm a man. Welcome to the game. You put yourself into this mindset, so you look at transgenderism is on the extreme, on the other side of transmutation. Take it from one and becoming another. So if I take transgenderism and if I sit here and say I'm not a man, I'm not human, I'm a god, I'm going to get the same looks that a motherfucker that gets from saying I'm not a guy, I'm a girl. Or I'm not a girl, I'm a guy. I'm going to get the same outlandish looks that motherfucker get. Correspondence. That's how you're understanding things. That's how you go into understanding things. You're outside of you're not part of this realm. So that when you look at certain people, when they have certain aspects, I break down a lot of times in a lot of my consultations. I did a consultation today, and confidentiality is an agreement, so I can't say certain parts. But I did a consultation today. And a lot of the things that she brought up, like the client that I acquired, the new client, a lot of the things that she brought up were based on the mental realm or the humanity realm. I can hear the guilt. I can hear the weight start on her heart. So what she's transmuting into, when you're transferring energy, you have to understand, remember, I'm saying that we've been talking about this the entire time. You have to understand the components of that energy. Because if you move it from a space, you must understand that the components of that energy in that space have to be able to be sustained on every other level. if it's not maintained on every other level, the changes aren't sudden anymore. The changes are not sudden. The changes become more drastic. So you look at the decline and the evolution of this realm, and you look from 1999, what did it say 1999 to 2020? We'll say from 1999 to about 2005 or 6. When I was going to school, between 99 and 2006. No, a lot. That made no sense. From 99, so I'm going to say 4 years high school. So from 99 to about 2001. Graduated early. To 2001. The way that the LGBTQIXYZ, the alphabet community is sustained now, that shouldn't exist back in 99. Not on the level that it is now. Motherfuckers were just finding out, and there was chicks that had girlfriends, but by 12th grade, they had a boyfriend, and some of them are married to men now. It was a phase. Something they played with and they were experimenting with in that transmutation period. That energy was grabbed by the jinn folk, the kinfolk, the skinfolk, and the jinn folk. And they said, yo, we can use that. So the conspiracy theory, when they talk about it's an agenda against the black man, it's transmutation. That's just invoking. They invoke their natural behaviors into something. They invoke from that lower level because they have the power to invoke. They use your energy to invoke it. They use your energy to invoke that process. You put your focus on it, you put your attention on it. Oh, that's nasty. Oh, that's this. But you never took the time to fucking study what the fuck made it happen. It's just now motherfuckers are actually talking about the buck breaking. So that's one aspect, one factor, one interpretation and aspect into that pot of configuration. The other things that go into that part of the transformation of that transmutation into that existing is the imbalance of the masculine and the feminine. If you suppress the feminine energy for a certain amount of time, when it cuts out, it goes into similar to when your energy is flowing into yourself with your imbalance. If you're in survival or in your lower chakra, for the example, to put that example into context, everything that you do, all your power will go into basing on survival. Any feminine energy that comes up will be based on survival. So the rise of the feminine energy that came in based on survival, based on our nature, based on our whole existence, based on this trend of survival for ourselves, for surviving, when they took the sun out of the home, the moon had to rise into the position of the sun. The mother had to rise into the position of the father to survive. So it's based off survival. So all of his energy came based off survival. So everything that stemmed from that transmutation was based off of the survival based on that level. So all of the teachings, all of the rhetoric, all of the movements that were based off the survival of Black women, that magic, that element, that transmutated down into everything else that came under it. So if I'm a young man, I'm a young kid, and I was raised by my mother, there's other aspects that I'm gonna throw in here too. And I'm raised by my mother, and I see my mother and how she gets attention from men. There's certain shit that you do on the psychological tip. That she got this attention from men. All I ever wanted, one aspect, All I ever wanted was attention. All I wanted was a father figure. The only thing that I saw was on the lower level of what a father figure is, or what a male authoritative figure is. So I'm going to search for it in that same way. I hate it so much that I become it. I become the stereotypes of what it is. I became, and now I serve the stereotypes. So when you look at it on that level, in that psychological level, that's one aspect of it. There's other factors and other triggers that were activated within that chord, that rhythm that caused that rhythm. I get a lot of attention for acting like a girl. This goes deep into the aspects when you start looking at, and this is a very broad topic. That goes in deep into the aspects of gender dysphoria, which is just a slowed down version of the African dysphoria. When you lose your way and lose who you are, everything around you is a reflection of losing its way and losing what you are. Everything's in reflection and in tandem and imperfect reflection of the imperfect reflection that is you. So everything that you're seeing around you is a reflection of what's something that's happening in you. It's telling you something that you need to work on. The universe has you in alignment. That's how you go into that alignment. Based on those three lenses, as I broke down earlier, the three lenses, the 3D lens, the 4D lens, and that 5D lens, which dimension that you're looking through, that's based on how you see it. So if you're basing yourself on survival in the 3D lens, then you need that attention, you need that affection. That's how you search for it. That's why, and the points that I'm going over right now, a lot of these points are in Greenhouse of Mirrors, the Greenhouse of Mirrors lecture, and the Greenhouse of Mirrors, and the Alchemical Marriage, the Alchemical Psychological Marriage. A lot of these points are revisits. So taking those notes, go back to those, and then you'll be able to link these together. That's how you link information. But taking the aspect of that, I almost lost my train of thought. Taking the aspect of understanding that everything's in perfect tandem and reflection to something that's working on within inside you. But how you're approaching it, if you're approaching it based on the level of oppression, the level of I'm oppressed, the level of believing I need to save something, or this, that, and the third, then everything you'll approach with the savior mindset. You'll approach it with the oppressor mindset. You're approaching with the counterbalance to balance that aspect. So if you feel like you're oppressed, then you need to create, I've said it before, you create a conduit to be oppressed by, to appease your ego in the way that you behave. Think about a whole football stadium full of motherfuckers and their team wins. All that energy in that dome after that, and this is one way to look, this is how you look at the dome, all that energy created in that dome has to fall down somewhere. Who's more open? The person that's on the negative or the person that just won? Think about all the energy created in the space. All that negative on one side and all that positive on the other side. In that space. Think about all the energy put in that one space. So the one team that wins, they're higher. The other team that loses, they're the negative. Positive pushes up the positive. Negative pushes up the positive. So all that negative energy that was in that dome is now transmuted and melded and connected to all the positive. So the victors are going to go riot. That's why they'll go riot in the streets. Take that same synopsis of energy, how it transmutates, and then you think about the Watts riots. You think about the Watts riots. You think about a riot in the street. You think about the Charlottesville you think about all these recent riots and all these riots and all that shit, it's all the transmutation of the energy. If I'm on the end and my belief is I want to do something positive and I want to stand for something positive and stand for my rights, and all that negative energy is coming off the other end and I'm connected to it, it connects to my energy and then it transmutates. Somebody needs to feed from it. It doesn't matter what side you're on. You're either on one side feeding something or you're on the other end feeding something. Until you come into balance and until you understand the coming from the higher and understanding it, you'll stop pointing your fingers and blaming somebody else for the mess that you created. Put it like this. I've said it before about racism. I am as much a racist as the racist because I understand the components of what racism is. Since I understand the components of what racism is, and I'm devoid of the emotion or the ego that can feed off of it for me to do it in a negative aspect, I do it from the higher aspect. That separated me from that. That separated me from this. Let me use this paleto stick. I'm gonna light it a little bit. That separated me from one side or the other. I gained balance of both sides of this. Both sides of that coin. I should have had a coin, whatever. Of both sides. So now that I have balance of it, I can now step upon this and use this energy to take myself up higher. So now I go to my next level. So when I embrace being a god, when I embrace being a titan, when I embrace being a chaos being, it is devoid of the ego that goes with it. I'm devoid of the ego that goes with being the human aspect. I'm not understanding it as the human aspect of trying to gain morality of being a god, because I understand that my morality of being a god and my righteousness of being a god is different than the righteousness of being a human. That's why whenever you heard 5%ers and they were doing some of the most fucking fiendish shit, they were selling dope and all that shit. But they were 5%ers and they were righteous and they were gods. When you didn't take the understanding coming from a human, they ain't gods. They can't be gods doing that type of shit. That ain't what gods do. Gods create and transmutate energy based on the righteousness stance and the principles of themselves. That is what creation is. They've learned how to use the chaos and the calamity to their point of creation. Unconsciously, I can go into the kitchen and chef up anything vegan, anything I want, any type of meal that I want, throughout the chaos of the heat, the fire, the flame, the water, the oil, all the elements, and I use them to create something. This is how you do. This is correspondence and polarity. I went in there and created an entire vegan meal. Shit tastes delicious to me because it serves the purpose to feed me. Now, if another person comes in and does not have the basis of plant-based and they're still on chicken wings and fucking chitlins and eating ass and whatever the fuck they doing, everything I did is not based on their is not based as moral in their reality. They'll question everything that I said. They'll question everything. If you want chicken, why wouldn't you just eat chicken instead of turning Satan into chicken? Instead of making that taste and look like chicken. Not taking the aspect of like, wait, my aspect of my understanding was the only thing that makes chicken taste like chicken is the seasonings. The only thing that makes chicken taste like chicken is the seasonings. So if that's the case, the only thing that makes chicken taste like chicken is the seasonings. I can take those seasonings and manipulate them with this and make this taste like chicken. And 9 times out of 10, my shit gonna taste better than the chicken because I don't have the guilt that's attached to that entity. When you're moving forward, you don't have the guilt that's attached to that entity. I don't have the guilt of humanity attached to how I now create my identity as me now. I don't have the aspects of identity. I don't have the identity crisis within myself, battling myself. So I don't have, so anything dealing with the identity crisis on this lower level based on humanism, on humanity and morals, it doesn't faze me. So I'm willing to step into I can step into any realm because I'm in that realm. C. Firminell broke down the astral realm. I forgot the name of the lecture, master teacher, and he came through in the channel. And he was talking about the aspects of you have to be invited into certain spaces, not unless you're as big as your energy is the same as the energy on that level. A lot of the reasons a lot of motherfuckers get stuck in these realms, on the lower realms and the lower aspect of themselves, is because they truly know and they have a belief in themselves that they're not as big enough to get to that level. They're not as strong as the energies on that level. As above, so below. It shows in their actions. It shows in the way they walk, in the way that they talk. Because there's always something hindering them. There's always going to be something hindering you to make you feel like you're not strong enough to get to a certain level because you don't have the knowledge of that level yet. So you have motherfuckers out here talking about begging Oshun for a fucking love relationship when, in my perspective, nigga, I am them. So instead of me begging Oshun for love, I'm begging Oshun to break me off. When you take that aspect of understanding, you create visualizing those scenarios in your mind. That's how your mind opens up to that. Your mind opens up to that space. But if you're coming into it, and what's stopping you is I have an oppressor, you have to open your mind to what the oppressor is, what the oppressor represents, what intellectual factors of that, what intellectual factors are within that conduit for me to understand based on survival. Then you go through it again. What intellectual factors are built into this person, are built into this conduit based off pleasure? Then you go through it again. What intellectual factors are within this? What intellectual conduits of factors are based off of power? So survival, pleasure, and power. First three chakras. That's how you, that's seven, the divine number 7. Because once you understand, once you unlock the first three and you get into the heart, you got to get into the heart before you start understanding and moving and gravitating towards anything. So then you go to the heart and you follow the same scientific process of alchemy and the metaphysical process. And now you're in the heart chakra. And now that you have your heart in balance and your heart is in order and your heart cannot be weighed against a feather, because you understand you went through the things in the lower nature of yourself to get to that nature, you knew you had to do that. So it's not on your heart. You were doing that based on survival, pleasure, and power. To empower yourself, to tap into your higher self. If you don't do these things, that's why you have certain individuals. You have in the lower level, the entity connects to them, those jinns, those dark shadow people that connect to them. They're connected to them to feed off of everything around them based on that level. I can give you all the pleasures you want. I can give you everything you need to survive. I can give you everything of fucking raw power. But you must serve me. And you must bring me. You must continue to feed me. As I feed you, you must feed me. And when you start thinking about that, I must feed. For me to feed you, you must feed me. And then you think about it. After you think about it, so you said it so many times, like, wait, I got to feed you for you to feed me. That would mean, this is how you start getting in a higher thought. That would mean that you can't eat until I feed you. That means you can't get anything I give you until I invite you or I give it to you willingly. 1 second. All right, we back. That's probably good. We're gonna do one break this time. But you take that aspect of that and the understanding of yourself into that knowledge of yourself. That means I have to feed it. So if I can feed it, and it needs me to feed, it needs me to be empowered. So it needs the conduits of me to be empowered. So take that on that broader, you look at the whole, then you spread it out to the whole spectrum. It needs me to be empowered. What brings power? Lower levels. And then you can go all the way back. You like, fear brings power for a lack of understanding. If I withhold information from a certain grouping, if I lock them into this cipher over here of being niggas, if I lock them into the cipher over here of being niggas, and I lock information about the Nagas and how to unlock it into the Indian culture, and I lock the Indian culture, fragments of the Indian culture here, and I lock it into the Kemetic culture, and I lock it into the Japanese culture. I lock it all into all these cultures, petri dishes, cultures. I lock them into these different cultures and allow it to grow in those spaces, but it's locked in that culture. It's locked in that barrier. It can't grow any further. Similar to a goldfish in a fishbowl. Then you look at the aspect of religion and the aspect in the mental scape. The best way to paint it is you take a fish, goldfish, put it in a fishbowl, and drop it in the ocean. It still thinks it's locked within its own space. It's locked within its own thoughts. That goldfish in the fishbowl that won't grow because it's locked within its own thoughts. So if you get locked in human thought, which is the ultimate sin, Gnosticism teaches that. Gnosticism breaks that down. And I lock you into a space and make you survive in that space, you'll survive based on everything that's within your environment. You'll create conduits in that environment to make you, this is my space. And then you got the aspect when you look at motherfuckers, when they start talking about the hood and this and that and the third. And then you got other motherfuckers on the other end of it saying, I don't ever see y'all in the hood. I ain't trying to lose what I have. Both on each side are afraid to lose something that's off the same fucking coin. One forgets where they came from, and the other one forgets since you forgot where you came from, you never know where the fuck you can go. That's the whole aspect, keeping you shrouded in the mysteries. You don't know where the fuck you came from. So you get stuck in the aspects of all I think about is surviving right now. So think of how detrimental that goes into your mindset if you put your mind on, I'm surviving in right now. Think about the rhythm. Think about that rhythm. I broke a lot of that down in the podcast this week. There was points in time that I can look back on now, and I realized that I lost. I looked at the things that I lost or the things I could have had at a certain point in time if I had a certain amount of information. But then I thought about myself at those points in time. The reason that I did not have access to that information is because I wasn't ready for that information. I wasn't ready for that knowledge. If I were to go back to the 16, the 17-year-old me, Nat, the 17, 16, 17-year-old me, Nat back then, with the information that I have now and tried to bestow it upon him, the motherfucker would look at me like I was fucking crazy. And he would have every right to look at me like he was fucking crazy because it doesn't fit within the cultures that are created in his environment, in that petri dish he's in, that environment of bacteria, that environment of energy that he's in. It doesn't fit. It's not wishful thinking for him. It would only become wishful thinking. So that growth that we must go through as we rise, you have to understand the layers of that matrix. You created all these layers in your identity and your ego. Your identity created one set of layers and your ego reinforced every single one of these layers. So now you're within the layers. And only the knowledge of yourself, which is the true love of yourself, is enough to be able to permeate and destroy each layers. That's why love in its truest essence breaks things down. There's a post. I can't remember where the fuck the post came from. But there's a post and it's speaking on, it takes you out of the aspect of this humanity aspect. And humanity and that unity aspect and us unifying and becoming this power, and we're gonna rise up and destroy some shit. That ain't gonna happen physically. The ultimate, wait, I'm trying to remember what it said because I can't remember what it said. I'm gonna go back because I think I looked at it as we look at the 95 fucking messages on fucking Instagram and my DMs about what the fuck we were talking about. Wait. Oh wow. Oh wow. That's an interesting concept. All right, let's go back here. Let's go here. Let's go here. Let's go to here. Let's go down here. Let's go here. Let's go here. This shit, no. All right, well, the post was, it went along the lines, and I'm paraphrasing it, but the post was talking about elevation brings your separation brings in your elevation. Separation brings in your elevation. You have to separate yourself from this illusionary reality, and that leads you to your divinity. One thing that I try to put out, and I always put out in a lot of the content when I put out stuff, is the aspect of you understanding yourself. You have to have that counterbalance so you see where you're at for your balance, there's the other two ends of the extreme to bring your balance. So if on this end is knowledge of self, and on this end is religion, in order for me to bring balance to myself, I must take the knowledge of self, and I must take the religion that I came from, and I have to see how they came together. Because both halves are you. That you're that coin, these are two sides of you. So to announce one side of yourself, which is belief or intuition, or what they tried to hide under, they said it was spiritualism, which is not spiritualism, based on your knowledge and your belief. Belief is equated to the feminine aspect. That's the imagination, intuitive. That's that creative side. So they created this based on feminine principles. They created this based on feminine principles. They masked the feminine principles within the Holy Spirit, or the 99 attributes. On this side is the knowledge. Everything that was built and sustained through the creation during our time of coming to sleep. So this is the knowledge. It's the masculine. This is the feminine. If I denounce this, I'm out of balance, because now I'm all this. Now I'm going to read everything based on knowledge, and that's where you get a lot of the people. You get a lot of the wokes, and they're super masculine, and their feminine is still not there. So after a while, if your spirit, which is the feminine energy, is not in it, all you can do is regurgitate knowledge. And then you're going to get to the level of regurgitating knowledge. So if you're regurgitating knowledge for so long and just repeating it, you lock yourself in a submersive bubble because you're not going any other further. So you're drowning. What's the natural body's response to if you're drowning? You're in fear for your life. So a lot of motherfuckers are out here in fear for their life. Fear for their sustain. Fear for that patriarchal alchemy, the patriarchal part. If the patriarchal falls, think about how much shit is falling right now because the patriarchal is falling. The knowledge and what they knew and what they could stand on is now falling. It's failing them because they can't go any further. So now they're subdued and locked in to their knowledge, to their understanding, to that intellectual. So all they can do is when they create the distractions, and they create them so fucking fast, and they're based off of fear in that aspect. When they create these things, just to sustain the same shit, their intellectual floor. Remember what I said before? The highest they can get to, the highest form on this level, and that's why they push it so hard with education, is intellectual. The highest form is intellectual. They can't get to the intelligence, so they can't get to alchemy. The highest form is intellectual, and that's the light. The alchemy is the dark. And the intelligence is the invoking and the evoking between intelligence and intellectual of yourself, understanding yourself. They can't do that. They're stuck on a conflict. They're stuck in polarity at the level that they get to. Whatever level they get to, as the change is polarity. Let's take change is polarity. So shit's changing. And then as you rise, their change, you see the different polarities on each level as you rise. But you're rising, you're gaining balance on each polarity. So when you rise to that top part and you start invoking your intelligence and your spiritual practices and your spiritual disciplines, you bring that balance. But at a point in time, shit gotta fucking die. Shit gotta resurrect. Your resurrection is not gonna lead you back in the same place that you were at, unless you didn't feel like you. Once you understand and you reach to the highest point of your duality and you're in balance of your polarities, you got to die. That's your resurrection. Some of us have resurrected many, many fucking times already. in understanding our small breakthroughs of which coming into our understanding. This is that setting the stage for how we rise out of this. I don't plan on rising out of this the same way that I went into it. Remember, everything, as you get to the higher level, I explained this last week. My rising has taken me through the different levels of survival, through all of my chakras till I got to my heart. It wasn't until I got to my heart chakra and my throat chakra, and I was strong enough to actually speak. I don't speak to the I don't speak to the dead. I speak to the living. They have everything twisted backwards. They have us literally thinking that this is life, and when we pass, that's death. That's life. So when I say I speak to the spirits, I say I'm speaking to, it's lit up here. Everybody alive. Everybody, that's the true word. That's the true understand. That's what true freedom is. That's the true aspect of what freedom is. That's the true aspect of tapping in and growing into yourself. So wishful thinking is over. Hope is over, because humanity is over. Wishes and hoping and dreaming upon a fucking star that some shit's gonna come down for you. Those aspects are all aspects of humanity. If you're tethered to humanity, you automatically get tethered to hope. You automatically get tethered to wishing. You automatically get wishing for that dream. You automatically get locked into those aspects. You never want to forget something. You want to make your life matter. You want to make your life count. Stuck in the conduit of what you identified with. So if you're identifying as, I'm a strong black man, you must accept everything at the level that happens to a strong black man. If you're saying that you're a strong black woman, you must accept everything that comes into the conduits of saying you're a strong black woman. As that energy transmutates, you must understand that energy and carry it all the way through. In knowledge and understanding of that level. Wherever you're going to be at, you got to be the best at it at that level. So when I stepped into my godhood, my God self, my God mode, as my man Tony would say, I let all that other shit behind. I left it on the table so I could read and understand it and understand myself. And when I did that, the next level opened to me. And as you do this, these levels open up to you. That's how the openings happen. There's one door for each one of us. There's one door to the collective. There's many paths. Each path is biometrically tuned to the person that walks up to that door. So the door that I walk through is coded to me. The door that you walk through is coded to you. We can share the same methodologies on both sides of that door, but it's what I apply through what we study and what we learn to my door to open my door, and what you study that opens up your door. I can't open your door for you. You can't open my door for me. On this lower level, that's when motherfuckers is thinking about saviors, and motherfuckers are literally going to go and Cash App, Creflo Dollar. They're going to Cash App and Text App and mail their tithes off to their fucking local church, because that's based on their belief in their reality to sustain their light. It's not up to you. It's not up. We passed that point of humanity. It's the compassion and understanding where we are. All you can leave is that breadcrumb and that sample and hope they're hungry enough to want to eat it. But that shit hot. You gotta hope they got the stomach to take that in. Because the information, when you get to that certain level, this information, this knowledge is going to be bitter. It's going to be bitter to the ego. That's why some motherfuckers don't go past a certain point, because this shit get bitter to their ego. It make them start saying, damn, I can't do this and I'm not doing this. But it's the sweetest sustenance to the soul, the eternal you. Getting in tune with that eternal you, that involves you sitting your ass down and taking times like this to reflect. One last thing before I get into that question and answer. One thought on something. Said it in the podcast. You made it this far based on survival, or you wouldn't have made it to this point. So everything that you've been through, everything that's been in your lineage, that's within your DNA, it made you for this point. That's your foundation. All the knowledge, I don't want to hear about a motherfucker talk about we were kings and we were queens and we were this and we were that. Because to say we were means that we are not. To say you were means that you are not. To say we were means you are not within the essence of that same lineage. You cut yourself off from your own fucking tree, from your own roots, when you say shit like that to yourself. So take this aspect before we get into the question and answers. You are not what you were. So take this aspect in where you're going forward with. You can't identify with both sides of that coin. You can't, correction. You can understand both sides of the coin to pick up that coin to pay the toll to go further. So when you get that message, you get that energy, you get that power to yourself. What are you doing with it once you apply it? And that's what I want to talk about before I went on a break. That's why you got motherfuckers on that lower level of energy. They'll always try to put something on you based on feeding. They'll try to put something on you based on feeding. The lower level healers, the lower level seers, the lower level psychics, the lower level tarot card readers, the lower level entities, the lower level witches, the lower level energy holders, workers, energy workers, whether in light or dark, have an aspect. They have to put something on you because they're in the realm of 3D. So they're in the realm of feeding and service. So take the aspect of a doctor in a hospital. When they go through their training, they go through their teaching, they're not taught nutrition. They're not taught anything that can sustain health. They're taught to prolong death. They're not taught anything to sustain and grow life. They're taught to prolong death. And when you look at it from the metaphysical understanding of prolonging death, that means you're still dead. Remember, anything under 40 megahertz is another fun fact. Anything under 40 megahertz is scientifically dead. So if I keep you under 40 megahertz, if I keep you under 40 hertz of energy, your energy ain't firing off on all cylinders in your brain. Only 10% of your brain is being used because only 10% of their brain. It only takes 10% of your brain to see the shit at the 3D level. It takes 20% of your brain to even start brimming into the 4D level. So the 5D level takes a whole nother, that takes you into the 100% range of your brain being used. That's another aspect when they talk about the coronavirus and it links to 5G and they're trying to create something. Anything they create is to sustain the level of the reality or the illusion of advancement. And it's going to kill the weaker, and the sustained higher are able to live off of it. We know how to feed. That's when it comes into reversing and feeding off of it. But going into the aspect, they're taught to prolong death. So a healer in the spiritual aspect on the lower ranks that hasn't done the work to themselves, they need to sustain your sickness and spirituality. The same way a doctor is taught aspects to prolong death, are the same aspects of how a healer in the spiritual aspect prolongs your death or prolongs your existence at a certain realm. So they'll tell you things that you put into your subconscious and lock into your mind. They still jinns. That's that whole jinn, shadow people. Motherfuckers that do the light work. Not saying all of them. I'm just saying the ones at that lower level. And they know who they are. They know exactly who they are. Then they do what they do. Kudos to them for being able to do that shit to certain people. Kudos to them. That's another thing that we also have to get into. You have to be able to look at what you consider your enemy and be able to, this is a big way of shutting down your ego and being able to say, bravo, touche, good job, good play. Because once you're able to do that, you're able to actually, you now submit to the attributes of the ideal that you need to go learn from. You're learning how to submit from the attributes of the ideal to become stronger. Either you being fed upon or you feeding. You either being fed upon or you're feeding at this level. You're either learning how to feed or you're going to steady be fed upon. That morality shit, that don't go for you. You look at any of the golden era rappers in hip hop, the 5%ers, the gods. If you look at any story that tells you about a god and look at what a god did, any mythos talk about what a god did, and then you go further, you look at what the Titans did, and then you go further, you look at the Typhonians, and you go into Typhonians and Hermeticism into the deeper mythos, you see what they did. That's God level shit. To humans, that's scary. So do you keep feeding Jiminy Cricket and hoping to be seen as what the fuck you need to be seen as? Or do you stand in what the fuck you are? You know, this that period. The last week, I ain't even try to restart music at a point in time. But questions, comments, questions, consultations for shadow work, breaking down into your shadow work, breaking down into your doing mirror work, tapping into yourself, starting with guided meditations, mantras. I'm doing that. That's in full swing. That shit's growing. I'm loving that shit. I love being that conduit for that energy. So if you're interested in those things, Set Caller Needs is my email, is the email. Set Caller Needs is the email address. You follow me on Instagram, drop something in my DM, start that dialogue, get that put together for you, appointments, consultations, life coaching. The price list is up on my Instagram. The price list is up on my Facebook page. Drop the information in. We'll build the dialogue and we'll build from there. A lot of the times I do, if we're not in the same space, or I can't just try to get to you like that. The aspect of that, especially during this scary ass time, motherfucking travel being suspended and shit. I do a lot of that shit via Skype. It's easy to do it via Skype. It's easy to do it via video chat. A lot of these things are easy. Like if it's just a simple, you want to get into your guided meditation to unlock your Akashic records. I just pulled up that. I went into my crates and pulled that information out. mantras, all that teaching, all that, getting into the aspects of deeper to yourself. I have opened up the my email for that. Open up all the aspects of that. Once you get into, you drop the email. I'll give you the number then, and we'll set the pricing and appointments and the dates to set it more comfortable for you, so you can get in tune with the higher you. That's available. If you have not tuned in already to the God Hour podcast, new episodes drop every Tuesday. This week's episode was Chords and Tethers. Very deep episode, going into the aspects of understanding the rhythm that you are on is not the rhythm that was created originally by you, and the tethers that are sampling from the rhythm that you have created are the reason that you're locked in where you're at. That was this week's episode. New episodes every Tuesday at 6 a.m. I drop a new episode 6 a.m. every Tuesday, because that's going under the premise of creating the spell of 2 days, the only day that matters. Once you understand this, like a lot of the stuff that I do, the content that I put out, and the way that I put it out, great. The way that I do and put out the content that I put out is based on unlocking the spells. The content, the way that I put content out, how I put it out, when I put it out, the positionings in that's based all in the examples of understanding how to manipulate the energy within a space. Once you're comfortable with manipulating that space, manipulating that energy, you're understanding how to transmutate. You're understanding how to transmutate and take yourself to the next level. This is not meant for this ain't meant for the weak people, the weak. This ain't meant for the weak. I say that every single week. I'm not here to purposely make you feel good about yourself. If you listen to the message and you feel good about it, hats off to you. But I'm not here purposely to make you feel good. I'm not here purposely to appease your feelings. You dig? My mindset, my mantra, my thought process when I put out content is to put out the knowledge based on the methodology. Therefore, I can go back and be like, here's the method to the madness that created this content. And that's what I teach. That's what I teach. That's what I consult on. That's what I have the conversations on. That's why I'm getting more into the lives, more in the aspects. I'm not really an in-face type person. For people that have got to see me, I'm not really this is like when I first started doing lectures to this nature, it was for me to learn like, yo, I can't talking to people in front of people. I mean, I know what you meant. I'm not really in talking to people, dealing with people. But like Spirit was like, that's your gift, that's your purpose. You got to get in front of the camera. You got to get in front of the people. You got to get the information out. That's your conduit. That's what you're doing. Shifting the paradigm. In that collective consciousness, as we rise, we're shifting that paradigm. Think about it like, this is one thing that I said was like about going home. I said it earlier on. We're on that track of going back to where we came from. So the civilization ain't shit without you. Think about that. The civilization ain't shit without you. That's why they appropriate all your things. That's why they appropriate all our stuff. Because the civilization can't sustain without your power. So if I keep you in a constant state, I'm just relighting the incident. So if I keep you in a constant state, of anger and disarray and hating on me, no matter what I do, no matter how I distract you, doesn't fucking matter. It's as long as you're distracted. It's as long as I can control your emotions, I can be your master. As long as I can keep you angry, keep you upset, keep you talking about the white man this, the white man that, and they stole this, and they stole that, and they stole that, and I'm waiting for them to admit this and admit that. Why do you need someone to admit something to you that you already have the information on? That's more wishful thinking. I wish they would tell me what the fuck they did. The moment that you get to see it, what are you going to do with it? One of the biggest things that we get stuck in is if tomorrow motherfuckers was like, if tomorrow Trump dumbass got on TV, I probably wouldn't even see it. I'll see it in a meme. Goodbye. There's a mosquito flying around my legs. Where the hell go? But if I put myself into the aspect, and I shook everything when I did that. But if I take the aspect of understanding that in my thought process, like, yo, I really just said legit. So what am I going to do with it? What are you going to do with all this shit if they gave it back to you tomorrow? Let them have it. Your pride and your ego is what got you stuck on, man, I want my shit back. You already had it. The moment that you let go of needing and wanting, the moment you let go of the needing and wanting of something, you realize that you have everything. You have the blueprints, you have all the information, you have all the knowledge that you need, that you're acquiring. So why would you want to rebuild on this? Someone put up a post and that shit was funny and it made fucking sense. America's going through a bunch of bullshit. It's like it was built upon an ancient Indian burial ground. Why would you want something? Why would you want something that's been destroyed and built over, and the spirits and the energy is within you to try to rebuild something here at this space, at this level? That's not your point. That's not what you're supposed to be doing. You're supposed to be rebuilding yourself, because everything falls into place when you rebuild yourself. Everything falls into place as you build yourself. Everything has fell into place as I built myself, rebuilt myself. The deeper and the more deeper I get into myself and understanding myself, the more and more things fall into place. That's the opening to the conduits of understanding to your higher self. Everything that I need, everything that I strive for, everything that I desire is there when it's supposed to be there. Because I've let go of needing and wanting. Let go of that wheel. I let go of the wheel. I'm going to let the wheel crash into the wall. Because I understand the aspect, nigga, the physical got to go away anyway. But since I have an understanding of letting go, I know what I can tune into. And I know what gives me the abilities to move. I'm free. I can do whatever the fuck I need to do. I'm not sustained or contained. I'm only contained in the perceptions and the mind frames of others. And since I understand that I'm in the conduits and the mind frames of others, I can move as I need to move. Motherfuckers ask me all the time, how the fuck you just appear out of nowhere sometimes? That's low-level teleportation. Because I'm in your thoughts, so I can freely move. I'm in your thought. So how you think of me empowers my ability to move. What they think of you is empowering your ability to move. Everything is in your favor. You just gotta let go of ego so you can get a piece. Everything's in your favor. Everything's yours for the taking. You just gotta let go of ego to get yourself a piece. What are you fighting and dying for? What are you willing to, however that damn song go? The opening to Click, yeah. The opening to Click. That opening line. That line explained everything that you're supposed to be doing. You know what? Wow. Everybody's compiling questions, or if you have a question, feel like playing around. So we're going to look up that song real quick. There it is. And it found it automatically. But yeah, consultations. I got a couple phone calls I know I need to make. Got to call people because I've been crazy moving around, doing all this stuff, putting all this shit together, sustaining my streams of what I'm doing. That's also another thing. In order to create at such a high level, you understand things fall into place. So you ain't got to worry. You ain't got to wonder. You ain't got to ask. Come to me. Sacrifice. Just like I was talking about, the mosquito needed to come to me so I can kill it. That mosquito came to me so I can kill it. But yeah, on the Horizon podcast episode, you know, every Tuesday I said that. That's coming up. The streaming service is also coming up. The Patreon page is in the works. When this passes over, I will start doing the live lectures. I'm planning on I'm looking at a couple venues now, a couple spots to actually start doing the live lecturing. If you have a spot in mind in your wherever you're at, hit me with the information in my email, my inbox, so we can get that live in person. Because everybody understands, like, it's like watching a music video or watching a game, or watching something. It's a different energy when it's live and it's in person. And that's my next phase, is stepping in front of people and being able to interact on the level of with that energy and growing that energy and shifting that space. That's the reason that there was one thing I also thought about. Everybody gets separated. You never see a lot of conscious folk all in the same place at once. And the reason behind that is each one of us is a light, is a beacon. So we all connect to the other beacons. So in that space, we allow that change. My connection to you guys through everybody right now through here disconnects that level of information and light. So you sharing that information and light, it creates this web on this electromagnetic field, and it empowers and it changes things. Think about what's happening right now and what's changed. Now it's time. I've said it before, and I've said it before, and I'll say it right now again. For us that have been off the fucking porch, running out there in this shit head on, time to sit the fuck down and study. Sit back, study all, follow none. Catch up. I got about 39 videos you can catch up on. Just for me, for example. Sit back and catch up and study. But for the motherfuckers that have been studying and sitting on the porch, it's time to jump off. It's time to get in the game, so to speak. But yeah, don't want to run this tape on. I'm just talking about rambling about shit. But yeah, until next Friday. Actually, until next Tuesday when I drop for the new episode. and we get even deeper into the truest reflection of ourselves. And the true reflection of ourselves is every answer that we are going to need to take ourselves to the next level. I love you all. We love us. Let's keep rising. Asha.